The AMA District 1 monthly Zoom meeting. We've been doing this now. This is our second year. We hope that the members and the clubs gain something from it. We do get comments back and we kind of adjust our agendas accordingly. Tonight's meeting will pretty much focus on what occurred this past weekend at the Executive Council meeting. So we'll bring you up to date on the status of the AMA, some of the internal and external factors that affected us during this past year. We'll talk about some of our victories that we had this year as well. We'll have some talk about government affairs, as we usually do. Recent concerns about altitude in Class G airspace, sanctions, and so forth. We'll look at FRIA status, processing and expectations for the FRIA status, where clubs stand, what we intend to do to process them more quickly. And we'll look into the CBO and some issues we're seeing crop up now with competing CBOs who are attempting to, apply applications for backyard use sites, which is not consistent with the current AMA regulations. I guess besides that, we can talk a bit about the Gardner meeting we had. And we talked about that the last time we were on in January. We're trying to establish a district event at Gardner again that we've done there for a number of years. It's a good location because it's centrally located. It gave us an opportunity to draw an awful lot of members for a 4-day event. We've done Huck Fest there. We've done district fun flies there. The event we intend on doing will have to fall somewhere after or before the airport actually finishes a new runway. We can talk a little bit about that. FRIA applications, there's been some issues with people applying. We'll give you some hints about the areas in creating maps and how maps would better reflect what the FAA is looking for instead of to have the AMA have to go through a lot of these. And I'll tell you what level they're at. A lot of people are under the impression that that these FRIAs have already come out and people have been processed through the FRIA process. That's going to take months. It's way in advance. None of you clubs and club offices that are out there right now, if you haven't applied, you don't have to worry. But we want to prep you on what we found out, what's important, what isn't important, how you can improve what you do so we don't have to go through it. There is a capability to correct what you've submitted if you've already submitted it. So keep that in mind. And we discussed that over this past month's meeting as well. So I think that covers pretty much all the areas we can hit. But as usual, we're open all the time to anybody coming in with a question on any topic. And we can move into that and put something else aside that we had planned to do. So what I'll do now is I'll turn it over to Darren and let him do some introductions and any protocols and process you might want to mention. And then he may want to give you a little input and then turn it over back to me so I can just highlight some of the important aspects of the EC meeting that I think you might want to know. So Darren, take over.
Thanks, Andy. For everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Darren Hudson. I'm the District 1, one of the District 1 AVPs. I specialize in outreach and advocacy. I've been helping Andy admin these meetings now for just a year. This is turning over a new year for us. We had January through December, and now we're starting 2023. So far, they've been pretty effective. I hope everyone has gotten something out of them. And we intend to continue them for the winter's flying season as we can. So just some housekeeping as usual. I think I see a lot of familiar faces here, a lot of repeats, and that's fantastic. Please continue to invite new people in. But housekeeping in your chat, I monitor the chat during the meeting. So if you do a hand raise or a physical hand raise and you're not getting attention, please put something in the chat because I can monitor that and get you in the queue. Sometimes several people will come at once, so have some patience and we'll try and get to all the questions. Like Andy said, the agenda, you should be sharing, seeing the shared screen right now. Is that true? Are you seeing the agenda, Andy?
Yes.
Okay, so like he said, he's going to give us an update on his executive council meeting from last week. We'll also add our continued plea for youth members 12 to 19 for the youth advisory board. That's not really a topic of too much discussion. We're looking for engaged members from 12 to 19. Please, if you have any in your clubs, let us know about it because this is a great new initiative to get the youth involved. Our meeting last month dealt all with youth programming, so please consider looking at that right on this Zoom page on the website. We'll talk about winter modeling activities. There's been an uptick in online simulator fly-ins, and those are being advertised and shared on our District 1 Facebook group, which is awesome. And we'll talk about some other stuff. And like Andy said, we're open to any other discussion topics. If you have a question along the way, let us know. If we can put it in a queue and talk about it later, or if it's something really crucial and it's not going to take a whole lot of time, we can add it in the discussion. So does anyone have any outstanding questions about the protocol? When you're not speaking, if you could mute, that would help us out for background noise. And again, if you know how to use the chat, use that. If anybody has any questions about how we're going to run the meeting, let me know now and I'll try and answer them. Anyone?
If you have an issue with looking for where the place is to raise your hand, we can see you, so just raise your hand. And for those that can't, would you tell them where to look for that hand raise so we can respond and stop?
Yeah, when you go to your whatever your Zoom presentation is, you should have a control panel, and under the More button, there's 3 horizontal dots. If you open up More, you'll be able to open up, let's see. Sorry, mine just went away for a sec. There we go. If you go into More, you'll see, what's it called? Let's see. It depends on what you are looking at, the type of display you're looking at. If you open up Chat, that will obviously give you yeah, reactions. Thank you, Joel. I'm tripping over it here. And that is under your menu. You'll see a button called Reactions, and it'll have a hand raise and a hand lower. Otherwise, you can use the chat function, and that opens up the dialog box. So that should get us going. All right, Andy, why don't I turn it back over to you, and you can talk about the EC meeting.
Sure. You know, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm trying to move my cursor to get it down to the bottom to the reactions area, and I can't do it. So what I would suggest, for whatever reason, it seems to be floating around. What I suggest is if anyone has an issue, just talk. That's all. And
yeah, that's not going to
kill
us.
And talk. And it's not a lot of people. I mean, we just went through that this weekend with 15 or 20 people at our executive council meeting. I just blurt in and talk, and then eventually somebody stays quiet and lets me continue. But and I was reprimanded by the president, by the way, for doing that. But he finally gave in. He finally said, you know, if you're going to get the message out, you got to speak up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where we stand right now from the EC meeting. I do the executive director review every single year. I've been doing it for a dozen years now. And so I get an insight into where the AMA is going. We ask the executive director 20 different competency questions looking at his performance, and we measure all that, but he responds to it in a self-survey. And oftentimes, like with all surveys, we find out the best responses we get is the self-review by the person themselves, because good people, like our executive director, Chad, tends to underestimate, or I should say, he gives himself higher expectations. And oftentimes, if he doesn't meet them, and even though there may be external or internal factors that bring it down, he will give himself a lower score. So the good thing is that the executive council members tend to give him a better response, considering the factors that we know that affect that. So in spite of being a very challenging year for AMA, we remained in good financial shape, although adult membership declined by 3,100 members. This is not uncommon. We have seen that adult area since 2008 continue to keep dropping down. The good news is that the senior member actually now exceeds the adult member. And the reason is simple. The adult community doesn't have the time, many of them, until they get to be 60 years old to participate in the hobby. And so that's been a consistent factor. We take that into consideration when we're forecasting what membership we expect to have in order to set budgets. So that becomes a factor. Youth membership, by the way, Darren, could you throw up the chart that actually shows membership? I don't know if the members have ever seen that, and they can actually see what we do. It would be, I sent it to you in your email, so it's in your email. It's not one of those. It's in your email, and there's 2 documents in the email that was sent out. One of them is the chart itself, and you'll see it. And while you're trying to bring it up, I'll mention a few things. We do have, and many people aren't aware of this, we do show a youth membership that's in a high number, like 45,000 or so. The reason for that is for the past decade and more, the youth membership has always been free. When we established a membership that no longer was free, that we charged $15 for, then we had to work out the time that it takes for membership in that range that we gave to come to an end, meaning that they had so many years of membership, and as those memberships ended, they came off the roster. So this year, if you will look at our membership chart, it will show that we dropped in youth members by 10,000. But that was our actual youth member count for non-paid members, meaning we don't get the $15.
Andy, excuse me for a second. Andy?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me for a second. I did not get that email. Is it in the 2022 review document?
No, it's not. It's by itself. Well, I can provide the information without it. I'm not sure why you didn't get it.
I'll keep short. You keep talking and I'll keep.
Okay. Because I could cut out and send it, but I don't think they have to look at it directly. So I'm talking about when you see that. So if you were to look at our membership right now, it looks like we dropped from 168,000 last year to 158,000 this year, but we really didn't. We expect to see those drops every year as we build up paid members, and that's been good. We added another, I think it was 27 or 2,387 new youth members, paid members at $15 each. The other area is AMA dealt with unexpected, as I said, internal and external problems. Staffing was an issue this year, I think, across the country. Any of you that are still working obviously realize this. We had illnesses, we had emergency leaves, we had resignations. 2 of our key people that run departments had to resign for much higher wages. Sometimes these people are getting offered 1 and 2 times the wages that we offer in Indiana. We did take some senior staff, and we did provide wages for them. Inflation and rising costs impacted AMA budget. So our budget concerns and what we forecasted for our budget got hammered because of the inflation. And I think that happened for nearly everybody, and whether they were in association membership or whether they were in any type of business. To offset this inflation, our executive director cut AMA expenses by 10%, and he did bidding for the first time on a lot of the services that we get externally from other people. So that dropped our cost quite a bit. As I guess the biggest area that we had of issues, besides bringing our costs down, I think we brought our costs down, our expenses down, rather, by 10% by working with each of our department heads. The stock market was the killer though. 2008 was the worst year for the stock market, and it compared somewhat to what happened this year for many firms that had investments. So before I knock you right off your seat and you figure the AMA is all done, we had a lot of money in reserve, so don't worry about it. But we did see a loss in investments so far this year of $2 million. Now you might say $2 million, how can that be? Well, most of the firms on a percentage of their investment money, and we invest quite a bit of the money each year to bring back returns. Over the last 3 years, our investments made well over $2 million. So there wasn't to be any concern, or there isn't. And we expect as the stock market rebounds, some of that $2 million will come back to us. But many people experience that. I think we can live through it and we'll be all right. What are some of our other victories for 2002? They include, and I'm proud of this because I chair a committee that's the committee I spoke about, one of the many, where we propose each year to the executive director what his performance objectives have to be for the next year. One of those performance objectives last year really hit the nail on the target. And that was, we had seen, or I had seen, and members of the committee agreed, that the FAA was giving away $5-10 million at a time to educational institutions that was providing UAS educations and curriculum. And I said, target your efforts this year in that area. And our foundation did. And as a result of that, we received a $518,000 federal grant. With that grant, we're going to be talking to you as club members and your officers, and we're going to be finding out if you are interested in receiving a curriculum from us, as well as a kit that the kids and the young people can assemble that lines itself with the behavioral objectives they want to complete with that kit itself. So there'll be 2,500 of those going around to different schools around the country. I'm hoping that District 1 gets a good share of them. And that will include the kit, a pair of FPV goggles to assemble, and the curriculum itself. So that was exciting for me and for the AMA as well. The foundation itself, we have a foundation built in the AMA. We received $348,000 of money this year, which helps us with all our programming going forward as the year goes forward. Online digital membership cards were created. We'll show you how to do that. If you haven't done that, we'll show you how to access your profile and do that tonight in the chat. Darren will give a demonstration on that. That was not the type that I introduced back in almost 8 years ago because we were waiting for our new AMS system. I wanted it to include a coding on it so that we could use them at events, an OCR code, so that if you went to an event, you'd be able to register with it. It would track your registering and would handle all of that. So a contest director didn't have to go through that. That will come in the next iteration. Right now, you can print your card, you can put it on your cell phone, and it'll list all the current statuses that are in the database. So it is it does validate your status and what your membership is. So that's in place right now.
Andy, since
yes.
you just talked, you want me to walk them through it?
If you'd like to show them that, sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
Okay, guys, I should be sharing the screen right now. You should see the AMA homepage. See that?
Yeah.
AMA homepage. Okay, good. You'll notice I am not logged in up in the right-hand corner here that's flashing. So I have to log in. This is a member function. So when you have a member function, you have to log in. I have mine saved. So I'm going to go down here. It's saved. So I'm logging in. Take a moment.
Now remember this, when you do log in, you're going to have, you know, if you haven't done this before, and we're going to have this on the website, so you can go to our webpage and you'll be able to, on the district webpage, and the
Yeah, if you'll
instructions
notice, hold on, Andy, let me walk them through it. If you notice, I went to this is the District 1 website right here. This is the easiest way to get here. So go to the District 1 website, and I just selected AMA website, and that got me to where I was right here. I logged in, and if I go under my account up here, right where the login was, and I say view profile, click on that. Loads up, and there I am. I view the profile, and if I scroll down, I've got my information, address and whatnot. I can edit this information by selecting this, but if I go down one more time, I can edit my choices of what I'm interested in, all that stuff. And here's my membership card options. So I can print this card. This is just like the printed one you received. I can print it in black and white, or I can do a mobile version. And I can send that to my email or put that on my phone. So you got several options to deal with, which is kind of a nice feature. So that's how you would access your membership card. Log in, my account, profile. And then now I'm going to log out of here because when I show you other stuff, I want to give you the same view you're going to get not logged in. Before I leave this, any questions on that?
Does that mean you won't get the renewal membership card in the mail like you used to?
That's a good
Yes,
question,
yeah.
Andy. Did they talk about that? Is this going to replace or is this going to augment the printed this
At-
version?
At this
Talking
time,
about this.
yeah, at this time, everyone will still receive, as I received, you will receive, if your time isn't up, you will receive that regular card. We're not going to get rid of that regular mailed-in card that you're going to receive until some future date when we've got this at the last stage and we think we've got really something hot here. Because part of why we want to get this going is not just to register, but we want to cut down the content we send to you. And somebody's going to say it's going to mean for more content. No, it's going to mean for less content. Because if you put down your interest is just in warbirds, we're not going to send you something about jets or foamies or electrics. That's what we're going to send you. So it is a means to an end that
Right here is what he's talking about.
Yeah. All of those factors, you can provide a check. If you only have certain interests, those areas will come up. So all of this was considered when we were doing this. We weren't doing it as most organizations do to flood you with more information. If anything, we're trying to give you the information you need when you want it, and you can always go in and change that to how you want, edit it at any time. If you're having problems, let us know, and we'll help you with that process as well, and get that so it works for you and you're able to do it. I had a bit of a challenge doing it because I found when I powered up and logged in, my computer logged me essentially in, but it didn't give me the drop down to get to my view profile. So I said, I'm not going to drive myself crazy. I went on my iPad and I had no problem. I don't know why it did that, but there will be, I expect, with everything that we do, and you all know that as well, we got to iron out some little things, but I think it's a good start for us right now.
So yeah, you probably won't even hear him talking about removing the mail option until we are, like Andy said, fully digitized. And when that option comes, it might not be a bad idea to become familiar with this edit portion and refine your interests. I mean, I did it today. They only had me down for jets for some reason. I think that was part of the redesign. So I went in and selected these different check marks. And what that's going to do is if anybody receives AMA Weekly, this is going to tell them what to highlight in that for you. So for me, I won't get stuff on combat. I won't get stuff on FPV because it's not checked.
While you're doing that, switch back and show them how they can go to the AMA Weekly if they're not subscribed. You know, I'm wondering if non-subscribed persons can view it right now on their computer or laptop or phone, whatever you're on, without actually being subscribed, because we provide it as a function on the website. So Darren, if you go to our website, one up on the tab, and you go to,
What do you want?
oh, I want you to see if they can see the entrance to the digital card via not the digital card. Go up further to the weekly newsletters. That's what I'm talking about. Our weekly information that comes in.
Weekly. Okay, I didn't know what you were asking me for.
Yeah,
But
I was
Andy's
asking you for that because you mentioned that, and I
Yep.
said, I'm wondering if they can just click on that rather than worry about the subscription all the time and have them subscribed by their profile. So watch what happens now.
If you haven't subscribed to AMA Weekly this week, you can get all that access right here at our
Right
website.
on our website.
So this is the
district So
one.
here you go.
Some of you who, if you subscribe to AMA this week, this is the one you should have received in the email. If
And if
you
you didn't
don't
subscribe,
subscribe, access it here.
yeah, if you didn't subscribe, you can use our website and get to it. There it is right there. Test it out and find out. You may have to log in, but I'm not sure. But I think I will check that out later. But the nice news is, I don't care if I miss any of those subscriptions because I know I'm going to be able to look at it right off this web, which is a push button away, and I don't have to go through searching it on the AMA website, which sometimes is a disaster to search.
And just to be clear, right now, I am not logged in onto our District 1 website. So
There
you
you
can
go.
access this without logging into our website.
There you go. So you won't have to worry about that, and you'll get any week that you wanted to look at that information, you'll be able to look at it.
Okay, so
And then, know
before I
now
leave this,
Yeah,
Before I leave this, does anyone have any more questions about accessing their profile and looking at their membership card information and changing their selections of their interests? Anybody have any questions on that? If not, we'll leave it. I don't want to belabor it. Okay, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to log out. Leave that alone and go back. You'll see me doing most of my accessing from our District 1 website. I mean, we've created this thing so you guys can use it easily, and that's why we use it all the time.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay,
Where you were at, if you want to continue
Yep.
something else.
the next area that we received some input on was the Government Affairs Report from Tyler Dobbs. So I'll just mention a few items. There wasn't a lot to talk about, but the Safety Risk Management Panel still are ongoing, but they've slowed way down. Now, Darren's been a part of it. I've been a part of it. We've done at least 5 of those panels. This is the clubs that are in controlled airspace to get the altitudes that they want to get, okay? And we've been very successful. We've been successful at Martha's Vineyard, where nobody thought we'd get it. We did get it. And we got altitudes that the club requested. We've done that for the 107th. We've done it for clubs throughout our district. On a national level, Darren ran into some issues, and the current issue seems to be that the FAA is considering a streamlined process. We're a bit upset about this because here's what the streamlined process will involve. It'll involve utilizing the FAA drone zone. So someone would go on the drone zone, and that while they were there, they would put in an altitude request. I'm getting some feedback from someone. Shut down some mics, Darren.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone.
Yeah. We'll put you back on in a minute. So
Andy, you got muted.
Andy, I muted everyone. That includes you. So you got to unmute. Sorry.
all right.
I don't have an option. I don't wanna go
That was probably a benefit. I think everybody got happy on that one. All right, so let's see where we were over here. So in the drone zone, when you would go on it, you would express that you needed a higher altitude. And that expression, checking it off, you mentioned what the altitude would be, and it would go directly to air traffic operations. Big problem. When air traffic operations doesn't go through a panel discussion with us, where we actually analyze risk. What we call that today is ALR. It stands for acceptable risk levels. We get in there and we talk about what the mitigations are that we do. We're very good at it. Darren and I have been doing this for years, and the people that work with us from, the stakeholders that are on our side, so to speak, like EAA, Sean from EAA, and other people that understand the needs of the FAA members work with us closely, and we end up during these panels to express clearly to ATO people through the facilitators why we need the additional altitudes. And when we show them our mitigation techniques, how we fly only in front of us, the altitudes that we fly at, that we use visual observers, that we have all this other stuff going on in our safety programming that has given us our impeccable safety record for nearly 86 years now, we convince them. And we usually come out, and I'm saying 99% of the time we've got what we want. But if you were to just put this in the hands of ATO, I can guarantee you that they'll simply say, forget about it. We don't want to be involved. And we don't want to go through the few people that are going to take the chance that they may want to determine that we're okay. Some of these sites in controlled airspace we've been at for 30 years. Some of them 30 years, imagine, no incidents happen, and yet they want to cut us out. So the good news is government affairs team, Tyler was in Washington. We're there every single week, and he managed to work with the FAA deputy administrator, and he told him about this issue, and that was certainly concerned about it, and we would rather not see a streamlined process, even if it takes us longer to do. So the other question then that came up that I rose at the meeting was, how are we going to deal with Class G airspace, which has always been an issue as well, because Class G airspace right now is supposedly under the regulations that we're working on, capped at 400 feet AGL. Okay, so the deal is this: we're not where we need to be, but we're heading in the right direction. The 400-foot altitude that we've been given can only be overcome with sanctioned events. So if you sanction an event and you say that you've sanctioned it, for example, Aerotow at the club in, where's the president? He's over here. I know he's here. Salem.
Yeah, prop busters.
Yep, there's Ed right there.
Yeah.
And so for Aerotow, Ed, they can, once they sanction the event, they'll be able to apply for an altitude. It could be 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet. They apply for it. They can also say that they need to practice before the run and after the run. So anytime before and after a sanctioned event, you can operate at higher altitudes over 400 feet. So the question I posed to Tyler was, I said, well, I guess if I got a club and I'm pretty sure about having an event, I'm going to sanction as many events as I can during the year. And maybe we can even work out a process where that sanctioning won't involve the higher fees, but allow us to do it just to cover the interim process that we're engaged in. Because what we're shooting for is for a blanket system to allow us to acquire this based on past mitigations that have proven to be successful with the same level of crisscross traffic and risk. So when we look at the same acceptable levels, the ALRs, and we can repeat them over and over again, we want a blanket way to do it. Check the box and get us out of here, guys. So what we're saying to members, and what I was finally left with, how do you want us to handle this? And the EC agreed. Keep flying exactly as we've always flown at our flying sites. If someone questions us, tell them we're involved in an incremental process. And right now, the incremental process is allowing us to wait until the regulations are enforceable or they've decided what is and what isn't. And that's going to happen as we move further forward, because we've seen consistent changes, even in the remote ID. We've got manufacturers hanging back now on remote ID, and because they just don't know what's going to happen with the modules. And I get emails all day, and we can talk about that as well a little later on.
So Andy, I'm going to break up. You just mentioned the waivers process. So as far as commercial UAS waivers, I've gotten quite a few of them. And once you do get one and you reference that number, it makes it extremely easy for the FAA agent to just rubber stamp it and pass it on. And if it's close to an airport, they just pass it to the airport and the airport just approves it. So I say you're right with that process, but just, I would, if you're going to do it, you would have, if you're going to be able to use the same, I want to say waiver number, then the same person would apply at the club. So keep that in mind because you referenced the old waiver number. Okay.
Sounds good, John. Thanks, and I'm glad you
So Randy, I got a question, because obviously our Aerotow event's coming up real soon, it's 13th to 16th, and we go way high. We're 2,000 feet plus for those giant scale gliders. So are we going to have to apply for a waiver? Or are we going to go based on past practices, like you say, and just go forth and be merry?
Yeah, at this point in time, I would say to go ahead and process it in the normal fashion with the waiver. Indicate on the waiver that you will be flying at higher altitudes if they ask for that. So you're gonna, and I know for right now that if you were to go on our website, I'm certain we haven't provided a checkbox for that. And nor has the FAA required us to do so. So I think what's going to happen is, until we get to that point, there's no way of us really complying, even complying under the situation they provided. So now we're back to doing things as we've always done. Wait until we tell you otherwise, or wait until the FAA says something and then contact us so that we can either correct them. Oftentimes, you know this even at your field years ago, Ed, when the helicopter flew over and the other ones, in an hour or so, I called up because of those airplanes that were flying close. And before I think the event was even over, we had it straightened out with the FAA people.
Right.
We were
So
operating okay.
in general, we don't generally apply for any altitude waivers or anything. That's been our past
No.
practice. So
Yeah.
I probably have to talk to you offline afterwards to see
Right.
about, and I'll get Len Buffington and Steve Passier up to
Yeah.
speed on
I'm
doing
gonna-
that application.
I'm gonna keep on top of it. All I'm saying is do everything the same as you've always done, only change the procedure when we tell you to. In the meantime, if I learn something, I'll tell you. And if not,
Okay.
call me, you'll find out when
Right.
it comes down to the time to do that.
Okay, our current process is don't apply for a waiver, just hold the event.
You can't apply for a waiver as a hobbyist at this point.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
no mechanism to do that. It's 400 feet and that's it. It's only the commercial that gives you that option
Yeah.
with drone zone. So don't do anything like Andy says, just hold off until we say otherwise. And I'm sure there'll
Okay.
be some kind of portal. Just dealing with the FAA, the verbiage, the wording is very difficult. You know, they find little faults to be able to deny a waiver. I mean, I've been doing this for years. So once you have one that works, that's great. The drone guys have been doing this for a long time. They started with, I think they called it a 555 waiver, and you basically had to be a lawyer to get a waiver to fly in some certain sections. So they've taken and built a database. So, you know, I know a lot of the guys here hate drone guys, but there are a lot of informative web pages when that time comes, or maybe we could be leaning on the AMA as far as how to write a waiver and how we would do it. Or, you know, I would love to see the AMA actually do it for us, or at least give you a can letter. But
Yeah.
we'll see how that works out.
The ultimate
thanks,
goal.
Jack.
Every opportunity that we have to take over a responsibility, we do. We're doing that with FRIA. Obviously, we could have extended the FRIA beyond and given it to the clubs themselves and said, here, you put the application through. The reason why we took on the project is because we wanted it to be consistent. We wanted to, what we apply and what we provide, we wanted it to remain. And so we review each of those applications. Talking about FRIAs, because we're there now, we have had about 600 clubs of our 2,400 clubs so far apply. That means they filled out the application from the AMA, which was a replication of what what they would have had to fill out if they were going direct to our CBO organization and having their person do it themselves. Of those 600, no, I'm sorry, it's 800. 600 of them are still sitting in our inbox, meaning we're overloaded. We've got 4 or 5 staff working on these. There's going to be 2,400 of them. So are we out there crying for people to send them in? No. Will we be sending something out to members soon? Yes. And Darren will tell you why. And that's because we discovered many of these people either didn't get their email from the AMA, the email got put into their trash or got put somewhere else, or the contact person is no longer the contact person. So during the meeting, a bunch of the district officers like myself recommended sending out a letter. Did you get it? Didn't you get it? And are you doing it? And once we know that, we'll at least remind people you can do it. No rush. We're seeing this stuff not going to be handled for and going through the process for a while because it has to be vetted now through other agencies. This is the problem we're running into. We're going to have this vetted through the how do you say it? NEPA. That's the National Environmental Protection Agency. So every application for FRIA has to go through them. Every application for FRIA is going to go through the security partners. Department of Defense, the Secret Service. It has to go through the FAA. So we think that the FAA hasn't got enough people to even handle this. So we're saying if they're talking FRIA by September, we're lucky if they get this whole FRIA process done much after that. So we do want to do as many as we can. We are going to contact those people and remind them that didn't get. If there's anyone on here now that belongs to a club that hasn't received their email from the AMA to put in for an application or to assign a person, tell us now. We'll put your name down. We'll get it going for you, and we'll let you get one.
And the email Andy's talking about should be something that gives you an indication like this. You should have an email to I'm sorry, that's not the one. You should have a email to Ilona, Maine at headquarters. And it should be something like this. Sorry.
Hey, make a suggestion. If you're not an officer of your club and you're here and maybe your office is not as active with computers, maybe screenshot this or take the link back and just make sure that your club has it. I can't stress that enough.
I want to let them know what this is. If you go to the homepage of the District 1 website, guys, we're doing this for you. And if you go to the homepage, I'll go back again. If you go to the website, this is where you'll end up. Scroll down just a tad. AMA D1 Zoom. That'll bring you to this page. This has everyone and all the information and takeaways, the videos, all the documents, and that is on the November Zoom meeting. You'll find all that FRIA information. So you've got it right there with you. And you can take it. It's right here. AMA Club identifying primary point of contact. That's the email. It's got the contacts on it. So use your resources. They're right here. Thanks, John.
And don't be afraid to contact me, Darren, John Yassamides, Tom, any of our AVPs that you see on here tonight are certainly qualified to steer in the right direction. The other issue that we're having that cropped up during the meeting is with our community-based organization status. We are a CBO, and certain CBOs we've had now a flight test become a CBO. We've seen the Freedom Coalition, FEV Freedom Coalition become a CBO. We've seen there's actually 3 other CBOs, so there's 4 of us so far. The latest one, interesting enough, is the FAA seems to keep backpedaling on what the regulations originally stated were the requirements. And the latest guy or group that came in, I don't remember the name right now. It was during the meeting and I didn't get that name clear, but it was an association that doesn't even have a website yet. And most of them are pointing to our safety programming. For example, if you go to Flight Test points to our safety programming in areas where they don't cover safety programming. Now that bothers us a bit. We're saying if you're going to point to us, you might as well belong to our association and get the support system that goes along with the written text, which goes a lot more further than what the written text simply says. The other problem that we're having with the CBOs is that they're claiming with clubs to be able to do backyard CBOs. That means someone can go in their backyard and establish a CBO. Well, the original criteria for CBOs went way beyond having a backyard. You have to meet a number of different conditions to have it. And so we're worried about that. There shouldn't be a rubber stamp method for doing that. And we're concerned that some of these new guys are putting pressure on the FAA, and the FAA is actually listening to them, which bothers us. So we're going over the heads of the local people when we can, and we're going to try to make them understand that we don't want to dilute what we've done and the efforts we put in all these years to make something functional that's safe and responsible, and it's done in a way that benefits everybody. We don't mind the competition. We've had it for years. We've had 2 other agencies in my time. They came in, American Modelers Association, and another one. They kind of use the same letters as us to get themselves in. They lasted 2 or 3 years and they went out of business. So what you want to say, you want to decide, do you want to be with the new kids on the block, or do you want to be with AMA and what we've done for you in totality? One of the selling points right now running around the internet is, well, join flight test. It'll cost you $40 and you can become a FRIA through us. Well, let me warn your clubs right now. If you decide to do that, to get it that way, then you can't function under our CBO safety programming, nor can you continue to be able to operate sanctioned events, have all the benefits that we provide in line with that, and so forth for the members. So beware of that. There are clubs that are going to make that decision, and that's fine with us. If they think that that's the best choice for them, we're going to allow it to be done. So let's see if they've got something else. Yeah, I think that covers pretty near everything, except for youth members. I remember earlier, except we're going to show you some other stuff now online though.
Hold up 1 second, Andy. Andy, hold up 1 second. There was a comment on the chat. I want to address it from Cape Ann, Dave Kress. Dave, you said I sent in a FRIA application and with the field description, et cetera, is there anything else I need to do? No, right now, if you selected your primary point of contact for the club and you've sent in a FRIA application, that goes to AMA, you are in the queue and there's no benefit of being at the front or the back of the queue. You've done what you're obligated to do and just continue to fly as you've flown. Thank you very much for participating in that. And it's going to go through the motions like Andy said. So thanks for asking the question.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if did he I know he's got his drawing and his map, but did you actually put it into, did you have a contact person that actually submitted the answers to the questions along with that?
Yeah, I did all that. I'm pretty sure I did all that.
Oh, okay, Dave. Then you're in good shape. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And you just got to sit like the rest of us. Like I said, we've got 600 that we haven't even opened yet. And I'm anticipating every week there'll be 50, 60, 100 coming in. And it's just going to be a long, drawn out process. Just keep flying like you've always flown. The other thing I would mention is Darren had said something relative to youth membership, that initiative with us establishing and finding a youth member to represent us from each district on the youth membership council. Just like we have the executive council for us as adults, we're developing a youth membership one. What came up during the meeting, which didn't come up and hasn't shown, is that we're going to have to do like Steve Brim and I had to do with when we ran that Boy Scout event, we had kids involved, youth members involved. You're going to have to go through the parents and get parent permission. So we talked to the lawyer. They're going to develop a process so that we just can't accept a young person into the program without getting that permission, just because that's what the law requires. And I know when we tried to do that at the Boy Scout event that we ran several years back, we went through the same process and we had to sign off and to get it to be done. So
and
that's
excuse me, Andy. And that's why, guys, in all the posts I put on the Facebook group and all the mentioning of it, I've always asked the clubs if they have someone, absolutely contact the parents first and get them engaged in the process. That's the reason what Andy just said. So if you have somebody, it's not a matter of having them, the kids contact us. Have the parents engaged and have the parents and the child contact us. We could even do a little Zoom meeting with them and give them a background on what's going on. So the point is we're trying to engage the youth into having some say into how to form and direct the hobby.
Yeah. And we're going to even go beyond what happens on a national level. We're going to try to develop a youth grouping right here in the district, where we have a youth leader that acts as a person like me and that assigns AVPs. If they so desire, they'll develop the program themselves and they'll work closely with the schools and everything else. We're hoping that ties in with the STEM stuff. Darren, if you slide back up to the documents we put in the meeting for tonight on the Zoom page. Okay, all right, so if you're not aware of it, we have a government affairs report for 2022. Darren can click on that. We're not going to read it. We're going to show it to you. He'll run it, scaled it up, and I'll just point out what I saw at the EC meeting. They did it as quickly as I'll do it. And it's just moving upward. If you haven't watched it, go ahead, slide it up. Government Affairs for 2022. First stop, we'll just stop for a second so I can see which area. All right, the advisory circulars, 9157C and 89.3. We've been through those. One of them relates directly to us establishing the CBO, and the 89.3 with the FRIA side. So if you need more information, you can get it on those areas. Going up further, outreach and education efforts, hosting with Congress. You can keep sliding it up. Greetings from Joe Manchin. We made a good relationship with Joe Manchin. He provided us with that letter you see right there. And it certainly is, he's you know, I don't think of him as a Democrat or a Republican. He's pretty much an independent. This guy is an aviator himself, flies full scale. He's going to be one of our key people in working with the regulations and going through that. That Collier County picture that you see over there, I'm not Collier County, go ahead, right there. That one there, the trophy, that's our key people, Tyler Dobbs and Chad are in the picture, left and right, and also Crystal now, and the other woman is Rachel, all from the AMA. But the people standing in the background, they're the members of the people who flew the helicopter on Mars, and they were receiving the National Aeronautics Award that night. And so, since they were former and some of them still AMA members, we ended up having our key people go, put them in tuxedos, and they had a great time. And we got to meet the people that actually flew that helicopter on Mars who received their award. Go ahead, you can go up, Darren. The DC club events, that was to help with FRIA, working with clubs, safety risk management panels. We talked about that. We've been doing that, very successful. Keep going. Okay, almost done. And the Washington visits, the legislation, we're intending to go there again this year as well. We'll engage in meetings, both virtually and as well as in person. We have a political action committee. We have money we can deposit on the senators' representatives so that we can get to speak to them rather than just their political advisors. So that document's ready for you to look at any time. The next one, I believe today, they put the final draft of it on, and this is the final draft. That's Chad's description of what the accomplishments were for us from the AMA in general in 2022. It's pretty much mirrors some of the things we just talked about with a few others added in. And if you wish to look at it, you can. He'll just scan it up.
Yeah, Andy, they could, because we're running a little bit long on time with this. They can read through this stuff if they want.
Okay, yeah. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's very similar. It's some of it's good positive stuff you need to know. All right, click that off and let's take a look at what we're planning here.
Andy, let's hold the gang and take a breath and ask anyone if they have any questions on anything we've talked about thus far. Anyone?
Let's give them a second to think.
That's it. I am. Johnny, speaking of a second, in the chat, guys, keep an eye on that because some of the people are putting some chat information on there. John put the current CBOs and a link that you could get that information from just to keep track of how many there are and who they are. So sometimes you'll see some valuable information in the chat. So just kind of.
Go ahead, Bill. Bill, you got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. One of the difficult sections of filling out the FRIA application is going to be defining the flight boundaries of the field, the location, the club.
Yeah,
particularly if it's not a rectangle, square, or a circle.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who can help
walk
us through how to do that?
Yeah, I've been doing them for people in the district. So right now, I've been even helping headquarters do it. You want to roll that back to the beginning, and I'll go through this. So Bill, when you're ready, read this over. Look at the drawings that I've done. Now that's a Google map. That's for one of the clubs in our district.
Right.
The first approach I take is I show a circle. will the circle work for the club? It's, don't go past that, hold that one there on, just hold that combined one on. So I took and I overlay over a Google Map image, a circle first, and I see if the circle will give me enough length to the flying site, enough breadth of width. Some cases it does not, and you have to go with the polygon. The simplest polygon isn't the one you see here. This one actually excludes where you see the little club arrow that came off the website just like that. It excludes the pit area. That's not necessary. You can include the pit area, you can include the parking area, but what you don't want to do is get into that road that's running up and down that you see over there. You want to stay within the boundaries typically that you have permission to fly in.
Okay, so his question, Andy, is like, he has trouble making a map. So,
Yeah.
if you want to hand sketch something, Bill, and maybe send it to Andy, looks like he's pretty good with it. He can help you out with that in a nutshell. And
And
Andy, my question is, are they looking for KMZ files, building them up with Google Earth? Because we do them
No.
for work, and I'm
No.
just kind of wondering,
All-
because
all-
there's a way to do
yeah,
it with
all I
Google
wa-
Earth
all
on a
I want-
KMZ.
Yeah, I mean, I use Google Earth to get the bigger image, but you can just take the one right off the district detail list and blow it up and then
Okay.
overlay it with the diagram that you want. How do I find the actual longitude and latitude? I can explain it. I don't want to take the time up now.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like for example, if you're using Google Earth, it's going to give it, one of them is going to give you in degrees. The other one's going to give it in another format. There's a page you can go to and it'll change one over so they match. I can do it faster than I can tell you. So I'd rather have a club send it to me or to Ilona, and headquarters will do it. Now, let me finish this discussion. So after I looked at the two options, I then said, let me go with the circle. It works for this club. It gives them enough width because I can put a radius in of 600 or 700 feet. And that's all they really wanted. And I said, so we'll just make it simple. So there it is, a radius circle, 670 feet. You see where that flight line is. It gives them all that space to fly, and they were happy with it. And it was a one-shot process and was done. Move up, and I'll show you one now that I decided that no further the other way. I'm sorry, the other way.
This-
The next
This is all you
slide.
have.
No, keep going.
So before we move
Draw it
on,
up. Yeah.
are you okay with
There you
that?
go.
Sending Andy a sketch if you're having trouble doing this?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the
Yeah.
prop up webpage. You guys, I've been to Salem, you guys have a huge field. And,
Now this-
Andy, you've probably been there as well.
Yeah.
So
Now
I
this-
mean,
yeah,
my point is, Andy, like, this is a very simple thing for you and I, and people that do it all the time. There's other clubs probably just like Ed that, they might know how to do it or draw a picture of it, but they just want to make sure they do it right. So an example like you're doing, this is great. So thanks.
Yeah,
So, John,
we're blowing the other districts out of the water because we've taken the time to do it right and help our clubs do it right. So we don't mind you sending it to us. This particular club over here, there was two approaches. We could have done the circle, but if you'll notice where they're flying from, if I did the circle, they only got about 600 feet. I didn't need to put the dimensions on this because I got every boundary marked. But from that flight line center arrow over to near where those houses and buildings are, they would have a small field. So the better approach here than using a radius circle, the radius circle would have gone right over the house to give them the length they needed, was to use a simple rectangle. Yeah, I rounded the corners to make it look good. Big deal. Don't worry about that. You can do a box. I'm a nutcase. But when you get to those boundary marks, I simply go in, run my point over to where I got it, look at the bottom right corner of the Google map, and it says right there what the longitude and latitude is. If it's in the wrong nomenclature, I use a little chart to convert it over. What I think we need to do is make a video, one that's better than what the AMA has, and one like we're using, because I don't think they get into that. But in any event, I established the 4 points. There they are. And that one was from, I think that was Dave, right? That was yours, Dave Kress, that we did for his club. I believe that was the one, no? Okay, it was for another club.
This is Northeast, yep.
Oh, the Northeast Club, all right. So we've done a
Bill.
number of them.
Excuse me, Andy, excuse me. Bill, does this answer your question?
Yes.
All right, Ed has had his hand up for a while.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ed.
So Andy, so a procedural question. So our field is pretty big. And it encompasses both the heli field and the regular field. We met, I did a board of directors meeting about a month ago, and we agreed, in the meeting went and drew our Google map field, which is a 200-acre area. So it's a really good size. It's big enough to cover all the giant scale, gliders and everything else. And it doesn't include anything that shouldn't be in there: roads, houses, et cetera, et cetera. But so my question is, on the questionnaire, you could only submit your flying field on the questionnaire if it was a simple circle, right? And so other than that, if it has to be a polygon or trapezoid, you had to say, just contact me later. So you're talking about submitting or working with clubs. Would it be useful for us for me to go and forward you the graphic of our field, or just wait for you guys to get in touch with us?
Okay, here's the story. What it says is that if you're going to do something that involves a polygon, you better contacting Ilona and work with them to get it done. That's maybe the case, but my feeling is Ilona is learning more from us than because we're doing them too. And we tend to be a little more, I think the distinction here is, I'm not trying to say anything bad about headquarters, is headquarters knows a process, but what headquarters doesn't know is if you, Ed, were to submit it to me, I understand that the helicopter field, I understand the other field, I understand how we fly, and I'm going to take that into consideration. So sometimes when the AMA does it, although it may be acceptable and they've expanded it enough to make it work, I'm not going to criticize them. But I think if John or I or Dan or Darren were to do one, we might take a slightly different approach, because we're considering it from our experience view, from the pilot, how he's going to land, how much area he needs to the left and right of him, how much he really needs to,
I get all that, and we understand that totally too. We're very confident in the boundary, the trapezoid polygon we've laid out for the club. But my question is, in that questionnaire, it said, don't call us, we'll call you. And so my question is, would it be worthwhile, or should I going forward to any of you guys, the D1 people that are more familiar with this, to take a look at it, or should we just wait to be contacted, which is what the questionnaire suggested?
Well, so you didn't submit anything then because you didn't want to get involved in submitting.
You can't. The way the questionnaire works is you either say it's a circle and here's where the center is.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that,
or
because
you guys call us.
Yeah, I thought you still could, and they made me think that you could. Okay, so
Well, I did.
You did though, Dave, right?
I put in that I had a 400 by 800 foot rectangle, and I sent it in like that.
So Ed, I was going to say that you can send that in if you're confident about it. You should be able to put the coordinates down.
They'll let me know.
Send them a file. That was kind of premature on HQ's point, because they weren't sure that people were going to know how to do it. So they went to the least common denominator and the easiest method. So they said, well, if you need help, now they're getting overwhelmed. So that's why Andy and I are saying, well, shoot, we're sending them good products all around. You guys know what you're doing.
So Darren, ours is already submitted, over a month ago.
month
and a half ago. So should we submit a supplemental, or we can take this offline, but probably there are other people in the same boat.
No, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the same boat. So here's the story. If you submitted it, the first question they asked when we were at the meeting, we were on the topic. I said, can we make a correction on anything that's been submitted? Oh yeah, there's plenty of time. Don't worry about it. Just tell us. We'll just cancel the other one and take the new one. So yeah, if you're sitting in the inbox, even if you're sitting with one that went in, they'll just cancel that and send the next one in. So, but what I would recommend, and I would recommend to any of the AVPs as well, that if other clubs question this one way or another, tell them, if you're going to send in what you think, and you think it's pretty much like was shown here, take them, let them look at the website, you identify the right boundary points and you've got them in place, send it in, and when you're doing it, copy us on it. So we got a copy, so if something comes up, we'll negotiate for you or help or fight or learn ourselves. If there's something that the FAA doesn't want, we'll learn. So I would tell anybody, if you're going to email a copy to them, email it to us. If you don't know what to do, then email it to us and we'll send it, and then we'll see if they deny ours. And we're hoping that, this is not, it's not as critical as we thought it was. For example, at first we thought we had to exclude the pit area. It should be just the flight box, but it doesn't. They're really concerned about the area we occupy. Is it permitted area or isn't it? If it's permitted, the only issue that came up was some clubs fly over a road. They do it at an altitude, and then they come back out of the open site. The question here came down to talking to the insurance people, and we made a decision to say to them, don't put it in there. Put your boundary that's inside the road. If the guys are flying over it, it's a flyover. It's an accident, whatever. Nobody's going to stop you. You've been doing it for 30 years. But if we put it in there and something shows up in the insurance situation, some sharp lawyer is going to say, what's going on here? And we don't want that. This is the chart. We can have an accident, but we can't show intentionally that we intend to fly over someone's house, their property, their structures, their kids, or whatever. So I would listen to that, and that kind of helped me out too in my thinking on this. So on a few of them that I've done where there was a road involved, especially a public road, I said, tuck it in, go to a polygon if you got to. And that's where the polygons. Now, our district's the hardest one in the USA to do. Why? We got a lot of narrow sites. We got tree lines all over. Most of the other places, these guys are putting in 3,000-foot circles. They don't care. They got tons of land space and everything else, and they can do it. But yeah, we've got to tailorize to a lot of the clubs I belong to over the years. I know they're going to have to go with a polygon or some sort of rectangle or multiple rectangles or tie them together some way or other. So
you just have to put your lawyer hat on. Caution hot contents for the hot coffee. Because we don't want to open up any considerations for clubs. All right, John.
Okay, Darren, just real quick. So what I'm going to do is just to do a quick sanity check. I'm just going to shoot the screenshot of our polygon to you, John, and Andy, just to give a quick look at. And if it passes the dumb test with you guys, I'll go do a supplemental submittal.
That's fine. Yeah,
That's great. Thanks.
I have complete faith. I have complete faith that we'll just rubber stamp it and let it go.
Yeah.
I would say send it to Ilona, but CC us in. That's what I would say.
I'd rather have you guys look at it first.
Sending it to us first. That's fine.
Okay.
If you could just lower your hand after you're done. Josh, what do you got?
Yes, I was just wondering, I've never seen the diagram of my field. And I was just wondering who has it, if anyone at my field has it, so I can see it.
Is that the 107th?
Yes.
That should be your PPOC, and you can check with the president. I'm trying to remember who he chose, and I can't remember.
Because I think everyone should see it. I've been told it's somewhat like a baseball diamond that goes out over the marsh, but I don't know the exact layout.
Yeah, we've talked to them about it, and we did the safety risk management panel. So the guys down there are very familiar with the process, and the whole idea, like Andy said, the intent is show the FAA where your operations area is, and you guys are out over the marsh, so there's nothing conflicting.
Yeah.
So you guys should be good. I haven't seen the exact one they submitted, but and I can't recall who the PPOC is that they chose, but it's one of the officers, I believe.
Okay.
So I got a question. I mean, this is a good point. It's a good point to him. When we do submit these, they go directly to the FAA. The AMA is not involved at all.
No,
They're going to the AMA. They'll sit there until they get to yours.
Oh, okay. So
It's
someone at the
different.
AMA has that drawing.
yeah, if they submitted it, it's at the AMA, not the FAA.
You might be able to get a hold of that. Yeah, for Josh. I'm assuming.
Well, no, he should be able to get it right from his club. Whoever, just check with the club president, and he'll
Yeah,
know.
club have it.
He'll know
Okay.
who did it.
All right.
Dave, you had a hand up, Dave?
Yeah, so I sent my thing where I described a rectangle, but I'll send it to you guys as well for you so you can check it out, okay?
Yeah,
I
we just
mean-
want to be familiar with what's going in, that's all.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Very good. Thank
as
you.
far as I know, like I said, they're probably up to today. I would think they're up to 700 or 800. So there's a lot of them sitting in the inbox. But the ones that they did send, the 240 or so that went out, if any of those they had a question on, they've either corrected it themselves and they're satisfied, or they go back to the club to make sure when they corrected it, they didn't exclude something or cut them out of a certain area they should have been in. So they've been handling them, and I haven't had any feedback, so maybe they haven't gotten to many of the ones we put in from District 1. The last time I looked was in 2000, was in 2022. It was on December 16th. It was just before our last December meeting. And I believe at that time, I said, Darren, you might remember, I think I said there were 29 clubs from our district who had submitted out of the 110 or so clubs. And of course, that was then. Now, when we were at the meeting, I said to Chad, why don't you send us another listing of who has submitted? So we got an idea of who hasn't. And even though you intend to send them a reminder letter or a letter saying, did you get it? Didn't you get it? Or are you doing it? Then that's fine. But I'd like to see the listing myself so that I can answer questions for people or any of the AVPs can. The reason why we don't want to put them on a website is now that we got competition, we're not going to tell them what we're doing, how we're doing it, and the process that we're using.
Yeah, Andy, I got a form letter from the AMA saying that our club submittal was forwarded to the FAA. So whatever batches they're doing them in, if you're in a club where you've already done your submission, you will get a communication back from the AMA when yours is in whatever batch next gets forwarded next.
So that's awesome, Tom. But I think we're more concerned with the guys that didn't send them in, and we want to notify them because they're going to come crying to us afterwards. Right. So, Andy, if we could, like you said, you've asked for that list of what clubs haven't submitted, and I guess we're going to have to babysit them, right? Because they know about these meetings. They, hopefully they hear about it.
I'm sure they're going to put it together. The question is, they're just loaded. They're just overworked and understaffed. And so, but it's not just on their end. The FAA is worse than they are. They don't even know who's going to handle a lot of this stuff.
So the FAA, I mean, just a little history. The FAA has been terrible. Anytime there's a new program comes out, it's usually pretty crappy. Takes forever. And then they realize that they got swamped, and then they come back with some automated thing, just like they did with Lance and stuff. So, anyways, I think we kind of beat this one to death. Everybody here probably pretty much knows. If you have another question as far as maps go and submissions, speak up. If not, we'll just probably move on, right?
We do have a guy. I want to move on. We do have a question in the chat that I want to address. Joe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's not a question. It's just Lisa Johnson working with us and went in very well. It started, listening to all these guys about drawing circles. It started with a circle. I checked the box for the AMA to contact me because it's more complicated than that. Lisa did. We cut it back. We drew a polygon and sent it back in, and Lisa got it submitted on the 5th of January to the FAA.
So you got the same letter Tom got that it's been submitted to the FAA.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. When I first read it, I wasn't identifying Lisa as headquarters, and I wanted to make sure somebody from your club didn't submit something directly to the FAA. That would have been an issue.
No.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Andy, John, I think we have beat that horse back to submission, and he's underground. So let's move on. Guys know where to go if they have questions. Because let's move on to some fun stuff and some exciting news. How about the Gardner meeting?
Yeah, we'll take a peek at that. Pull it up, and then we'll show you some functionalities we've added to the website for filtering now for clubs and for filtering for events.
Okay, just to make a point, Andy, some people on this call know about this and some people don't. This Gardner, we're looking at a district fun fly at Gardner for all the clubs to be invited in. So Andy's been working on it.
Don't go by that just yet. So, so what we're showing over here is we set ourselves up for an agenda meeting, and we were placed on the agenda for Gardner. So I'll tell you about the history if you don't know it with Gardner. We've done multiple events there for the past 20 years. It's the largest facility we have that's centrally located, drawing the most people. So we said, we've got to get back to doing something. Here, don't go any further, hold that. And here's what we had, here's where we wanted to be with this. We wanted to be able to change our mode of operation like we did about 5 years ago, when we went to more outreach and advocacy, doing airport events, because we were trying to influence the public, not the choir. Now we want to get back to where I started. When I came on board 20 years ago, and even prior to that, when I was the National Sanction Coordinator for IMAA, the idea was we were doing events for the members, for the clubs, for the members. And that's what we wanted to get back to, getting back to that. Let the government side go a bit. Let us still do the outreach with the important airports that we've tied ourselves into to introduce the public to sport of aeromodeling and get a positive thinking about it. But let's get back to having fun. And so part of that is it was going to, and I wrote this letter you see here to the board of directors. We had got an information from Steve, one of our members, that there was an interest. We have run jet meets there, Huck Fest there, scaled events there. We've run the first jet meets there that happened in the 60s. I mean, this site has been used for everything. It allows for parking. It allows for use of the brand new runway that they're going to be putting in. So it's a pretty cool place, and we're hoping to get it. We did a presentation. In the presentation, we included all the things we wanted to do, and we provided handouts to them. We told them we understood. Right here it says, we understand that the board of directors' interest was to bring activities back to the airport that would benefit the community and the airport. So we had to tie two things in here. Rather than a specialty event, jet meet, scale meet, SIG meet, we decided to do an AMA district-sponsored AMA festival. This would include what people do at your local fields, but expanded much bigger. We would have a Thursday through Sunday featuring all the popular aeromodeling flying with ample time slots for compatible aircraft. So we put the jet guys together, the scale guys, the warbird guys together, just like you do at a big club event. But we've done this before. We've had a lot of experience on it. I told Darren, we show up at the morning, we know who's there, we make a listing, we block them out in the chart, and we give them opportunities to fly every day, and then do a noontime air show where we have a variety of the top flyers demo each of the categories. So the theme will be more of a festival, and it will incorporate inviting a lot of people, a lot of clubs. The problem that we're seeing is that over the last 5 or 6 years, we've become more isolated in our operations and multi-club operations. I've done this all over the United States, meaning you're always going to impact somebody, some club, some activity. And that's okay. So if some IMAC guys are going to an IMAC event the same weekend we hold this, they'll go to it. If some go to Warbird, we'll do our best to put it in the least competitive area, but it's always going to be competing against something. That's why we used to do, in my early years, 4 of these events a year. Today, if I did it, I'd be dead. You'd be tiring me weighing a cat, but in the early days we did. So we want to get started with one. We're looking for dates. The problem right now, we're looking for the dates is that they're doing a brand new runway, and we got to either fall in towards the middle of June. It'll start. It'll take a couple of months. So we're looking for something in early June or September or October, depending on when they get done. I want you to take a peek, if you're not familiar with us, slide up for a history. Just show them a little history of what we showed them.
I want to address a couple of things on the chat. First of all, Mark Schmidt from District 2, thanks a lot for joining us. If you're still here, thanks, and come again anytime. We had a comment from George Mack. Is this going to be like a Joe Knoll of New England? And I think the answer to that is no, not exactly, because it's got more of a community aspect to it rather than the flyer aspect to it. It's a combination of both, but don't think of it as an RC event for RC pilots. It's an outreach event for the community that involves all aspects that we can fit in of aeromodeling. If anybody went to the Concord Wings and Wheels, it's an expansion of that versus a Huck Fest or Jet Fly.
So hang on. Wait, Dan, I heard what Andy said, Darren, and Danny said this is for us. It's not for an outreach, but you just contradicted that. So I thought it was. I mean, it's not going to be a competition. It's going to be an open fly. It's going to be all different kinds of things. the community can see it,
Yes.
obviously, but
Yeah,
you know, it's not a place that we're recruiting
It-
other than people are
Yeah.
gonna ask questions, I'm gonna be there to answer them.
yes.
Is that right,
It-
Darren?
Yes, no,
Yeah,
but that's the theme that I'm seeing.
So
People
Joe
that-
Knoll is kind of like that, you know,
Yes,
it's
it
all
is-
kinds
it-
of flying, except for there's
Yeah.
not gonna be a lot of shenanigans, because there's gonna be a lot of public there.
No, now listen, I go to Joe Now every year for the last, since it started. And Joe Now just has a number of flying sites. So they're doing 4 different flying sites. They're having this similar activities. They got the main line, scale flying, you know, and sport flying, but then you go to the aerobatic one, you go to the electric field, you go to the helicopter area, which is diminished now, the U-control area. We've done that at Gardner. We had U-control, we had Pete Reed there, we have Bod Wallace there. We set up another field. The place is large enough to have multiple activities going on multiple occasions, but the main flight line will focus on dividing it up into sections and allowing people to operate that way. At times, there's going to be people there that are sitting there doing nothing, like we do at a field. And yeah, a mixed group will go up and fly, but they're wise enough, and we've been doing this long enough to know, I'm not going to go up with a $25,000 jet and fly while a bunch of guys happen to be doing electrics and they're having a good time. We're going to let them finish their window of flight and then go up. It's common courtesy, common respect, and then an organized event. It works, believe me. We've done it before. We know it's workable. It can be done again. Question is
Andy,
time.
I think one of the key things that has to happen here to ensure that there's no misunderstanding or controversy going forward about what this event is intended to be. I think we need to get an organizing committee identified sooner than later.
Yeah,
We should have agreed upon event scope that we can put down on paper, have it on the website. So if there's any questions by anybody
Yeah.
between now and spring about like, what's this thing going to be about? So I can determine if I want to participate or if I want to promote it amongst my club, we get that nailed down, because I would hate to have people going off in all these different directions with a different understanding of what this event is intended to be,
well,
and then work to drum up interest just to find out that it's not what they thought it was. So I think
Well-
it's really important to get clear on this sooner than
Yeah.
later.
I mean, if you read the statement, it's a festival. It's going to incorporate everything that clubs typically incorporate. I just came back this year from the event in Vermont there. Now, the Vermont Club, the Rutland Club, runs an event like I ran at my club. We had the space to do it. It's a mixed event, specialty areas, non-specialty areas. People have done these at larger clubs, are fairly well used to it. We'll spell it out in more clarity, but all you got to do is expand against the theme. The theme is written there, it's very clear. Thursday to Friday, featuring all popular aeromodeling with ample time slots for compatible aircraft flying groups, as well as times for mixed sport flying would take place. People can fall into that very easily.
My only point is
Yeah.
I don't think you want that buried in the midst of a multi-page document, right? Like
Oh, no.
we should create a
No.
one-pager that talks
No.
about what the essence of the event is intended to be.
Yeah,
And I think
and-
that'll help
and you'll
clear
see
up a
that.
lot of that.
All right, and you're going to see that. Would you scan up, Darren, so that people get an idea of what we've done in the past that aren't aware?
I
of it?
actually, I would actually like to finish Tom's thought right here, because
Yeah,
I
but
might.
you're
be
going to
the
get an
one-
answer if you scan up. If you scan up, you'll
Hold
get
on,
an answer to
Andy.
it.
Andy,
Okay,
I might be the one that's confused here,
okay.
because I'm interpreting community appeal for both spectators and pilots
Yeah,
as an outreach opportunity, not a recruiting opportunity, but
Yeah.
part of the need at Gardner was to drag in and interest the spectators and the public, correct?
yep.
Okay, so that's not a flying event only, correct?
It's a festival that involves the attendance of people. It allows spectators to come in. It allows pilots to come in. And it's nothing new. I mean, I don't know why you're making this complex.
So, you know what? I think to Darren, to Andy's point, let me just point out, look, we're going to have, like you said, it sounds like we might have a couple of flight lines. Obviously, if the jets are flying or big giant scale, they might need the whole runway, but we could divide off a section or corner for 3D flying because they don't need all the space. But obviously, Darren, I totally agree. We should take the opportunity. So if there is a public flight line that we could do handouts and talk about model aviation. And that's it. It's kind of like going to an air show and watching the Thunderbirds. You're not going to fly them, but you're going to see them and get interest.
We're not going to try to leave any area out. The reason why I want you to scan up, Darren, I can't do it, is because you'll see it. You'll see it happening. Just bring the document up, and that's a multi-club fly-in, but continue to go down. This is a district-sponsored electric fly-in. The first one that was, wait a minute, stop right there at the District 1 fly-in. Go back one square, if you can.
Kite flying.
There you go. Just stop right there. Right there. Now, if you look at that, and it's hard to read the print, but that was an electric fly-in, the first one that took. That was a specific event. It didn't involve bringing in a variety of people. In fact, the people that run the electric meet out in Pennsylvania, they showed up there. The guy from Model Airplane News was at that particular event. That was a specialty event, but it was open. It was open to the public. We did demo flights. We did the regular fly-in. We did it as an electric. Now go ahead and continue going up, and we advertise it as one page, and we bullet the items that Tom asking for, so people see it specifically what we're doing and what we provide. We show them the ads that we create.
I want to ask a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of doing introductory flying at these?
If time allows, absolutely. I say towards the end of the day, we usually did that even at our other events. We do them at the events now. And all the clubs have done the same kind of thing. This is another event over here. The Balloon Fest I did for 25 years. Obviously, at that event, we opened up flying. We took over the full day and we operated. We had training. We flew all types of aircraft. Everybody came in from around the district. Warbirds had their time. There wasn't turbines around then.
And it's important to emphasize those aspects, though, because if you want to do intro flying,
yeah,
got to make sure we got enough committed pilots and trainers.
Oh no, you're right.
To be able to handle the volume, so you don't have families showing up expecting to be able to do this, and then they leave disappointed because their kids in line for an hour because we got 4 pilots and dozens and dozens of kids, right?
We usually set that aside for the end of the day operations. We set a time up. At sometimes with clubs, we set up 2 times during the day, one in the morning and one later on.
Right.
Not uncommon for us to do that. Keep going. This is the Snaposaurus event in July. That was the one at Gardner where we brought the president in. A big event at Gardner at the time. There's the Gardner picture down at the bottom with all the tents and everything else. The event ran smoothly. Did all the activities we're talking about. Here's the Stanford event where we had 20-some thousand people come in, all sorts of size planes. Horizon partnered with that. The 2 full-scale aircraft were Matt Chapman and Doug Holland, and we had them flying at that event. And this was more of a Horizon outreach event to demo their products. But in the midst of all of that, we had everybody flying, mostly larger scale, but even the guys came in with the electrics and flew along with Horizon and other people that were there at the same time. So we did manage, but not typical event, not a typical event. Different focus and so forth. Go ahead, you can go by that, that. That's
Andy,
that's a typical Huckfest event, which featured just 3D. Today, we'd be looking at 3D and extreme flying, and we would be focusing just on that. And some people wanted to run that. I say that's a second run thing. That's a SIG event. And Darren's brought that up. He said, we can always look into that as a second operation that we might want to conduct at Gardner as well, because it suits itself. Just like the jet meets that Jeff Lloyd runs there, the scale meets that Buckley has run there over the years. So this is a jet meet, just jet guys right there, like you do at Plum Island. There's the Plum Island one. And then we're back to our usual Concord ones that we usually show to people, or the airports that we engage in. So some of these images Darren used today to interest a friend of his who's going to offer us another airport up in, where is it?
Can I talk on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I had lunch with Rich?
Yeah.
I had lunch with Rich Little, who you guys might be familiar with, the Beverly Air Show that we did, this one. Rich is the one whose daughter has cystic fibrosis, and he usually dovetails in fundraising for cystic fibrosis into the events. I talked to him today, and we had a nice lunch and a catch up over at Hampton Airfield in Hampton, New Hampshire. And the owner of Hampton says, you can do pretty much whatever you want here. We want to promote aviation, the airport. And it's basically going to be a modeling event. They don't have a big enough space to do an air show. They might have some flybys by some of the Confederate Air Force airplanes, but it's just going to be flybys. So I talked to Rich. I said, in the traditional sense, we used to have events and they would have noon demos and they would have air shows and they'd have the expensive airplanes come out. I said, we've kind of shift gears a little bit, and that's entertainment. And what we're interested in now is engagement of the spectators and the public to try and get them to experience this in a full aspect. And it's the same theory we were using at Concord with the affordables, you know, going out there and flying $200, $100 airplanes, so they don't have to look at airplanes like this all day and be entertained, but get them out there flying and engage them in the hobby. And it's a combination of those things. And that's all I was trying to stress with Gardner. It's a combination of all those things that's what I envision when I hear the word festival. It's combining all that. It's, in other words, I don't want to go there as a modeler and just expect to fly all day in an open fly. Or if I bring 10 airplanes, I'm not going to be flying all day. I want to engage not only the modelers, but the spectators in the town and the community, and do this outreach opportunity.
It's great to do that, Darren. And, you know, some of the guys that I deal with love that. There's also a couple of guys that I want to say quite a few guys that they don't want to be instructors because they're kind of selfish. They want to go and just fly, and they want to do it. So, you know, I'm all for what Tom said. You know, if there's jets to fly from 10 to, you know, from 2 to 3, or I would put that time slot out there, because guys will travel pretty far to come and they're going to go, oh, we can't fly until a certain time, and they'll be disappointed, and I don't want to hear about it. You know, so just that proper planning up front is probably wise on Andy and whoever is actually doing this, because if it's control line in the morning, you want to make sure the control lines guys don't show up at 11:30. Go, what? I missed it. It was only this morning, you know, whatever. So it's great. You know, honestly, I think we could do a lot of the guys on buddy boxes, just like you said, a certain time of the day, like, you know, the noon time, a 1 hour while people having lunch. They got the pilots, they won't worry about it, and ask them up front. If you're an instructor at your club, bring a trainer and a bunch of batteries, and we can get a whole group and get 7-8 planes up at once. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let me say this to make you feel a little more relaxed. Typically, you're only going to draw between 70 and 100 pilots. That's all, even though you're doing multi. Now, it could fool me, we could go over that, but that's what we drew for years, because that's the kind of district we are. And isn't a lot, meaning when you break it down, you might have 5-10 people show up with jets. You may have 6 people have warbirds. You may have, so the classifications are decided early in the morning. They can't be decided beforehand. You can mention them, you can talk about them, but you don't know that until the first few days of the event. When you go around with a clipboard, like we always did, and you mark it down on a board, and then you say, hey, this is what we got. And you put it out there on the social media so people know there's openings. We have everybody's able to fly. Everybody's able to have their time. And we don't have to set the time up like saying 2 hours for jets. They may go up and fly their flight, and then the next group may be someone else, and theirs might be 20 minutes, and another 15, and another 20, and another 10, and another 5, and that's how we ran it in the past, and it seemed to work. I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I'm hoping that my experience will help, but I'm certainly willing to learn. There's different thoughts, but I understand the pilot. I think Darren does. I think John, I think Tom, we understand that people are kind of used to this because they do it in a small way at their multi-club fly-ins. That's what they do. And yeah, and they incorporate the handouts, and they get the public involved, and they have the guys sit. Listen, Steve used to stand at the booth all day long and hand out pamphlets. Another guy that on our team used to take care of the parking. Another guy would take, so we used our staff well. We shared responsibilities, and we were successful. I hope we can do the same again.
Josh, you got your hand up. You've had it up for a while. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree with this totally, and I will volunteer. I have a Nexstar on a buddy box that I use. with people all the time. Steve Gola will definitely do it, Jim Collegieri. And,
Oh, yeah.
get a lot of people local that'll help out.
And I don't know if you know about it, but I've started a private group, and it's called the District 1 Outreach Team. And it's
put
not
me on
only
it.
pilots, it's and I can invite you to it. And it's not only pilots, it's like what we did in Concord. We have sim operators, we have people who stand at the raffle tent. It's people who are only comfortable flying park flyers. It's people who are comfortable flying expensive jets. So we need a combination of that throughout the district. So when we have smaller events, even that, the handful that are doing it now don't have to travel all over the place. We can make a call and say, hey, can you guys go help with this? And then we can all have sort of a similar theme of what we're trying to accomplish. When
We
go
need to get younger people into the hobby, even younger than me. I'm 44 and I'm one of the youngest ones. That's scary. It's scary that the seniors are outnumbering the adults. Like, so we need to get some
Absolutely.
younger people in this hobby.
And it takes that engagement. It takes putting it takes putting transmitters in hands, having the parents engaged, doing it with the parents as well. Steve's one of our best spectator operators, and that's why I dragged him in to be an AVP. So he's the perfect one doing pit tours. And that's why I just don't want to, I don't want to get away, outreach is my tag. So that's why I push it. I don't want us to get away from that outreach emphasis and get us back into getting to a great venue and doing it all for us versus doing it for the people standing behind us and watching.
Yeah,
That's all.
I agree. I agree with all of that. We just broke a record in that only one person, we're up to 21 people, 22 were on. I guess we kept most people on. So
We had 33.
Yeah, did we? All right, so we're doing pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're at it now, we're not a little over an hour. I'd rather leave the rest of the time open, although we had, Darren, you might want to show them some of those new features. I thought those were
Well,
really neat.
I liked where you were just going. We've been talking a while. Does anybody have anything they showed up to tonight that we haven't discussed that they'd like to hear about, or they have any questions? Let us know now, because otherwise I'll do a little demo on a new feature that AMA's got. Otherwise, this is your time. I'll give you a couple seconds. Yes, Steve.
Well, I got something I wanted to bring up, but I can wait till the end of the meeting if you got other things. And so I'll just do that. And I'll take
Did it
my.
involve that check you were going to send me?
Yeah, it's in the mail.
Okay, I know it's not Margaret, but I see Margaret's iPhone. So
Yeah, it's John.
thanks, John.
We're mentioning indoor flying venues,
Yes.
and we're here on Cape Cod. We have indoor flying every Saturday night at the high school field house.
I saw the picture. It looks awesome.
We have a great turnout. Youngest flyer is 9 and the oldest flyer is 92.
Great.
That's a good spread. That's a great spread.
We've
Yeah, I
been doing
saw
it-
that facility. It looks pretty good.
So about 10 years we've been doing it. I was a school teacher, so I had a connection to the school system.
Yeah.
And we have guys that come from all over. There's no charge, which is great.
Wow, the school let you have it in the evenings.
They let us have it. They've raised the basketball hoops. They turn off the fans. There's heat. There's bathrooms. We have tables and chairs. It's great.
That's, and from being an outreach representative, that is what we want all of our clubs and members to be able to do, is get that relationship with the community, with the education facilities, and that's perfect. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying that and having a good luck with it.
We have a table at the science fair, and that's on a Saturday. And then we invite them. We have flyers. We invite new pilots to show up the following Saturday to try out the night vapors and such.
That's awesome. Yep, I saw it, and I highlighted that. I think last year we put it on the Facebook group. You guys had the science fair table, and that's perfect. I mean, that's what we want everybody to emulate, what you guys are doing. So thank you for that.
Is that flyer about the Saturday nights on the district page? Open to other clubs?
It goes to the Otis folks, but people show up from, like the
Now, is that
Bridgewater.
something, is that something that you would open up to the district members?
Sure,
Then maybe forward it to me. Are you on are you on Facebook?
yes.
So do you know our District 1 Facebook group?
No, but I'll figure it out.
It's right off of our website.
Yeah.
Common theme, go to the home page of the website. It says District 1 Facebook group. Go and join that. And that's just our way of vetting it. I'll approve you instantly. And you can post that on the Facebook group. And now you've just opened up the community.
Okay,
That's
Can you,
perfect.
what town is that in, by the way?
Falmouth.
All right, I have someone that I want to send down there he's gonna want to watch, and the next thing you know, he's gonna want to buy.
We had somebody last year who came in from one of the associate vice presidents, somewhere from Connecticut, he came over. I'm
Was
not
it
sure.
Jimmy Sear?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim.
Jimmy was on here. Jimmy, you were here?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yes, Jimmy.
Weren't you there last year, Jimmy?
Indoor flying?
Yes.
No.
No.
Maybe it
wasn't
was
in there.
Andrew Figler, maybe?
Whoever it was took pictures and sent them into.
Oh, it was probably Andrew Figler.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Jim's
That
been
was, that
waiting.
was me.
Which one did you go to, Steve?
Yeah, that was the one in,
That was you. Yeah,
Yarmouth, is it?
yeah.
Helmet.
Falmouth, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Oh, it
was
was you,
me.
Steve. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
you were there and they get Peter Gazellas.
Yes, he's there all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Nick
sure.
was there.
And
So it's
Steve's
a-
there, Nick Roselli's there. A
Yep.
lot of my close friends go to that event and they have a good time.
So
Steve's
Fal,
been
it's,
there,
the- right,
Nick
it's,
Roselli and not, yeah, good.
so it's the Falmouth,
Falmouth
high
Falmouth
school
High
field,
School.
field,
Falmouth
it's
High
in the
School
field.
field,
What time is
six-
that on Saturday nights?
6 to 9.
6 to 9. All right, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Except I think Nick shows up at 5:30.
Yeah. We know Nick, we eat with him every other Friday. So we have fun with him. He's been.
That's right. Yeah, the Glazellis guys, John and Peter, they come up to John's club up in Billerica to fly with us once in a
Yeah.
while in the wintertime.
Yeah.
What they do is they come in from Bridgewater. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. They come in a van and they go out to eat beforehand or out to eat afterhand, and they make a night of it.
That's terrific.
And I watch the videos later and I watch Peter going up, doing a stall turn, coming around, going up again. I know his whole routine at that site. So
That's funny. Jim, you've had your hand up for a while. Sorry for the wait. Thanks for your patience.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Thanks.
And just introduce myself. Andy, you and I exchanged some emails back and forth earlier last weekend on control line.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me to this. I should have been along all along, but here we are. I'm the District 1 representative for the PAMPA organization, Precision Aerobatic Model Pilot Association control line folks. And I've had the good fortune of flying with John and Tim at the Flying Eagles. A very supportive club, wonderful folks, and we've enjoyed flying at their field. And I was introduced to John Morley at the 495th in Tewksbury as well. We've done some control line things with those clubs, and we're trying to stand up control line there and get guys interested in flying. I know John has expressed some interest there with the Eagles, so we've got a program going. The big deal with us, of course, as I mentioned to Andy in my email, is we're seeing a lot of encroachment and a lot of loss of flying fields. We've had to rely on parks and whatnot, and public use facilities and others are coming in and wanting to use the same space. It's difficult with control line if you're not, if you got bad weather or wind or something, you don't show up on a Sunday 2 or 3 in a row, pretty soon everyone kind of forgets you're there. So they find other uses for the field. So what I'm interested in doing and what the PAMPA president, Mark Weiss, wants us to do is set up a regional tournaments all throughout the United States. This would happen to be the New England one. Get together with District 2 and I believe it's 7. It's the one over in Pennsylvania, not 7, but might be 3. Anyway, it was to see if we could put together a district tournament a New England regional tournament.
Yeah.
And obviously we need flying space for that. So Andy, that's one of the things you and I discussed, as well as just finding some fields that are workable for regular weekend flyers to come and get together. So those are the things I wanted to kind of discuss, and I was real interested in hearing about Gardner, not just the festival, but as a possible location for this regional tournament that we're contemplating. So I would toss it out there and see what you guys might have to say.
Yeah, what I would like our AVPs to do is to research some of the clubs in the area. I provided a list to Jim of the, I think it was 19 clubs that show on the website that they're still involved in control line, and they have control line facility capability. And what we're looking for is one that can handle the regional event. So anyone out there that knows of clubs that have that capability, I have the list. We're going to send out a request to the club offices to consider it, and we'll see if we can find a site for the control line operations. I mean, they used to take place at Rentham at a field just before the field where I used to fly RC. So I would stop there many times, many years ago, to see Dave Cook, and he was a former VP like I am before Don Kraft and before some other guys. And so I used to get a big kick out of watching him fly because he was a guy that would be up there and he'd be cutting the lawn and the grass, and then he'd go out and fly. And he was in his late 80s. And I said, and I'm going to be 80 in February. And I'd say, holy smokes, how's this guy doing this? But that's the kind of energy he had and the passion he had from hobby. I enjoy watching control line. I watch it down at Joe now because it's to many of our routes. I enjoy watching it when I used to go to Rentham, when I go out western part of Massachusetts to events. So I think it's part of it's in our system. It's part of our DNA, and we don't want to. We want to continue. The amazing thing about the control line group is that they haven't lost their traditions. They have converted totally over, except in competition, to composites. They're still building aircraft. They're still a family-oriented group. Their children, their fathers, their mothers are at the events. And I get a kick out of it because they know how to build. They know how to cover. They've got the skills that many of what we do in RC have been lost. So yes, if we can find a place, and we did. Years back at Gardner, we had Pete Reed fly. I didn't list some of the events. We did Woodstock. We had him there. Bob Wallace, a former district VP for AVP for us. He would fly. He did racing, did all sorts of aspects of control line. So, and of course our Nats is famous for continuing that area of the hobby. The nice thing is, the beauty part is, Jim doesn't have to deal with remote ID modules. In fact, I said to him in the letter, I said, is it time for me to bring out my ringmaster? I still got it down cell with the KMB redhead on it. And I said, do I need to go back to U control so I don't have to deal with this stupid regulation that I've been dealing with for the last decade? Every now and then when I'm at Joe Nell, I run out and they give me a reel and I get a little dizzy going around a few times. I'd like to use some wingovers and inverted flight. And I can almost feel it in my mind from when I was 12 years old. And my friend and I had built our first U control planes. They looked like they were made out of shingles, out of scrap wood. We stuck a motor on them and we're struggling. Every time we take off, we go boop, and bing into the ground. And the old timer, probably my age, stopped. And he walked over, he saw us on this little field, and he said, hey, boys, come here a minute. Do you ever hear about a thing called CG? And he picked up the thing, and he said, okay, bring me a nut, build me a bolt, bring me a big piece of string. He weighted the planes, and he said, listen, next time when you take off, I want you to pull a little down. Don't pull up, just go a little down with your wrist and watch what happens. Holy shit, we flew around. And at that point, there was several of us, after crashing so many times, that weekend must have involved more flights than I ever made in RC in a year.
Oh, good reminiscing there, Andy.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
think
Andy, how old were you? How old were you when that happened?
About 12.
And how
built
old
my
are you
first
now?
I built my first RC plane when I was 13 in junior high, single channel, citizenship radio, 47 volts on the plate, 22 and a half on the filament. And if I pushed one pulse for right and two for left, I never knew what it was going to get, or I never knew if the plane was going to return. So control line continued with me for a while.
Right, so
speak.
I just want to get this straight. I want to get this straight for the people watching the video when they do. So you were 12 years old when you had that control line experience. You're how old now? 78.
I'm gonna be 80 in February, but I still feel like I'm 12 years old.
And
So
you're
there
right,
you
because
go.
you just reminisced about that like it happened yesterday. And I love
And in my
Yeah, that's
mind,
awesome.
In my mind and in Jim's mind and in most of us on this site right now.
All right, hey,
That's what we think of.
this is,
Yeah.
now this is awesome, but I want to involve like everyone that's still left here tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jim has offered to help us build like a basic trainer, a control line, some
Yep.
components he's going to share with our club. I've been kind of waiting for that list. I just reminded him. Because probably half of the people here reminisced about how they first started, and probably half of us were control line. You know, the technology has changed. They use electric, they have timers and this and that. So if Jim shares that, and I'd love to not just share it with our club, but you know, maybe the whole district, why not, right? We were lucky to have a guy named Dick Carvel who found our club. That unfortunately he's moving to Florida. Amazing guy. He came down our club, and you know, I remember him doing control line when I first got married, and I met him. He was a condo president at the place where we lived in Drake, and I'm like, I went down his basement, and like, you know, I've seen RC airplanes, but these are guys that don't just fly control line. They build beautiful. I mean, some of these planes are just incredible. They don't peel. They're silk and dope. And you look at them, you would swear they're, you know, painted in a body shop, you know, finished like a Corvette. It's crazy. So you don't have to do that. I'm just saying, but there's a lot of talent here. If Jim wants to share that with all of the community, I'm sure, why not? You know, I'll build one or two, you know, who knows? But because it's flying to me.
Jim, are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook, Jim?
I have a page I've got, that's the next thing on my list to do is populate it with all of the things going on, pictures, you know, the works, kind of a news.
And what I would encourage you to do is when you do that, share it to our District 1 Facebook group. Because
Certainly.
that's your group. It's not my group, it's your group.
Yeah.
And we can also share that to the District 1 website. We have a slideshow right on the homepage. And I'd love to show you how to populate that, or we can do it for you. If you send us the pictures, we can do
Perfect.
it. You're part of the modeling hobby, and we love it. And yeah, I know over at Johnny's Club, you have a young devotee, and I wish we could bottle his energy. And he's Johnny's sidekick. I understand Nick's making himself a couple of control line airplanes.
Yeah. So there's plenty of interest. We've got some very accomplished flyers in the area that are, you know, they're looking for a place to fly, and we're also looking to expand it, expand the, you know, reintroduce guys who might have flown a long time back or just have always had an interest. In fact, John, you weren't at the last Eagles meeting. I brought the kit that I'll be building in stages and bringing and discussing. I brought the kit there, and we did a little show and tell at the meeting. And the goal is that every meeting between now and spring to have the airplane progressively built until she's ready to go, and we'll bring it out there and bring the club guys out and fly. We'll have kind of a control line day. We did that with the 495th there in Tewksbury and John Morley's outfit. Several guys got on the handle, and I've got a simple demo electric airplane, and it was a lot of fun for them. And one other guy and I put on basically a little demo competition, the full precision aerobatic stunt pattern, start to finish. And what I did was I made copies of the judges' score sheet and told everybody how it works. Here's what you're about to see. and you get to grade every one of our maneuvers and the whole deal. Of course, the fellow I was flying with is flying at the expert level, and he won, of course, but it was a lot of fun and really informative rather than standing there with your hands in your pockets watching your airplane go around in circles. You're actually kind of judging, gee, how is that loop? How did that look? Or the wing over, or the overhead eight, the clover leaf and all that. And it really got them excited. And then we put them on the handle. And I'll tell you what, it was a blast. And we've been invited back next spring. And I've joined that club, and we're looking to put that together with Tim and John at the Flying Eagles as well. And Tim is at the Flying Eagles has invited us to have a regular control line day. You know, maybe we'll say Tuesday afternoon or whatever it is. Pick a day, and that's the day we'll always have someone out there if you guys want to come out and really get things organized and energized. So
it looks like it's going in a great direction. And I talked to John Morley tonight. I emailed with him this afternoon. This is unfortunately their BOD meeting night. So I told him, please, go on and reference the recordings and get that to the club members as well. But I went down there for a club visit, so I'm glad you're in touch with him. And hopefully this will start, come on next month and, do the same thing. Maybe do it a little earlier when we have a full complement. And we'll give you some mic time and FaceTime, and maybe spread the word a little bit more, get a few more clubs engaged.
You bet. It's been a lot of fun. John invited a friend of mine, the fellow I fly with, Rick Campbell, to come out. And John is a huge supporter of model aviation, of everything. And he's got a car strip there and everything that works, but a very supportive guy and a lot of fun. And so we're looking forward to flying with him. He's talking about putting together a flying circle to one side of the RC flight line, so you don't have overflight issues and all that. And sure looks good. Sure looks good. And we're excited about that.
That's great. I mean, I know at some of the jet events, a couple of years ago, we were hanging out afterwards, had dinner, and then all of a sudden we look down the end of the field at Plum Island, and we see a control line going around. I didn't know he was setting it up. I swear to God, I ran down there to watch him. He brought back some good memory. We were all sitting there going, wow. I mean, here we are. We probably have collectively on that flight line $150,000 worth of jets, and we're all running down to see a control line thing go around, and we're going, wow, that's because we all went back to the schoolyard. It was unbelievable. Great.
That's not uncommon. And while we got some of our guys on, I know Joel's on from the heli crew. He's the president of the club there. I'd ask him if he thinks there's any possibility. I know that field pretty well. We've done a regional event there for multi-GP for the regional racing a few years back that I attended. I'm not sure if there's a capability there, but the facility is large enough to conduct and centrally located in Mansfield. Joel, is there any possibility of us considering that as for a U-Control event, a regional event?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to do it. We've got two fields. One we use for non-helicopters, I'll say that. So we could handle it, no problem. We got plenty of space and it would be great. So yeah, we could talk about it offline and figure out what you'd actually want to do.
Great. That sounds great. I'll contact you through, what's the best way to get in touch? Through Andy then, or what?
Give him his email is on in our magazine.
Let me write you a direct message right now, and I'll send you my email. So give me a second.
And by the way, Jim, this is a large field. We could park plenty of cars. We can provide for overnight parking if you get it. We can make this an extravaganza for that. We've done it for the multi-GP group when they had their regionals. We did it years back for the group that we flew helicopters for a Guinness Book of World Records, where we brought in hundreds of pilots. I think we put 100 pilots. We were just short of getting the record for the world record and Guinness for putting the most helicopters in the air. So it's one of the people I thought of, and here's my AVP telling me he'll consider it, so.
Fantastic.
good.
Guys,
Pretty good.
and Joel, thank you. Where is this located? Mansfield?
Yeah, Mansfield. You could, if you want to type in New England Heli Crew into
All right.
Google Maps, it'll show you exactly where the field is. I put the website and my contact information in the chat to you. So take a look at the chat window and you'll be able to see all that. And yeah, anyone else listening, I'm on the contact information for the AVPs. So you can find me there if you look at the District 1 AMA column that Andy writes. So
Terrific.
Or
go to the website. You know, that's a great idea.
you go right there.
All right, guys,
And
we are
is he?
very,
There he is.
Yeah, that's me. There you go.
all right. Thank you all so much. We've everywhere, we've brought a control line. We hear guys talk about the great memories they've had. Remember one guy watching Dick Carville, who's also turning 80 this year. Unfortunately, we're losing him to the great state of Florida, but he put on a real fantastic demonstration flight, the full precision stunt pattern. And one of the guys is standing there with his hands in his pocket, and he says, "Yeah," he says, "I've done all those things." He said, "Not on purpose, though." So, yeah, but everybody's got great memories, and we really appreciate the hospitality, and it could be a whole lot of fun. Guys get out there on the handle, they go, you know, I'm going to try and build an airplane. So it can be a real blast for us, and really open up a new, an old part of flying that maybe a lot of folks have never been introduced to, or just kind of forgotten or gotten away from. So
it'll be great. And maybe we could do a helicopter event with you at the same time, just to blend things. So we can get people in the club who fly and, you know, watch the control line, and folks who are interested in control line, go watch some helicopters. So we can definitely talk about that. So get in contact with me and we'll figure it out. And yeah, you help me understand what you actually need so we can make it happen.
All right. Just so you know, Joel's
not too far from Rentham.
And Joel is he's a right crossover guy. He's flown his helicopters his whole life, and he just started flying airplanes. So put a handle in his hand and he might go grab a control.
Hey, John, another thing to get you in.
Anything with wings, a prop, or a motor, I'm into it. So Jim, I want to ask you, and maybe is there a flight simulator for control line? Because I really want to do the patent, but I don't want to step it in the ground like my other memories of being a kid.
Yeah, I don't know of one. I do have a DVD that walks through the pattern and guys kind of explaining and narrating as they go, but I haven't seen one of those. Probably the best thing, John, is a simple trainer that you can really regulate the speed and everything else, and just make it simple. Really, it takes just getting out on the circle. And I got back into this. I flew as a kid, and I kind of got back into it as I got close to retirement. Found Dick Carville, and he put me out there with an old beater trainer of his. And I got to where I could go around in circles. Okay, got a little dizzy at first and all that. Now I'm flying at the full competition level. I was at the Nats last year. I'm not that red hot, but by George, I can do the whole pattern and build my own airplanes. And I went from scratch to that in about 5.5 years.
My thing is, flying it around, and up is up and down is down. You can use your whole arm. You just point at it. You're not going to crash if you just stick your arm and don't burn your wrist, and just point your arm up, and it goes up to here. It comes down to here. It's when you get inverted and you make the half loop, and now you press it down just like a transmitter. I guess it's the same thing, but I don't know. I know my RC plane, if it stalls, hey, I got plenty of room, I'm gonna do it up high. You're dealing with a small window. So when you come out of that loop, you can only be as high up as the string is in your hand. So you're not, the first loop or inverted loop is gonna be like, you're gonna end up 4 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
That's a little intimidating,
Yeah. It is, but there is a trick to it. And the first thing is, a well-built airplane that you understand and you have confidence in. And that first outside loop, you start from 45 degrees high and give her full down. You just hope you don't whack the ground. And I've done it, but it's a gut check. But I'll tell you what, when you pull it off, you go, yeah, I can do it. Pretty soon you're doing a clover leaf, and man, I can do that too. And this is fun. I tell you, it's such a thrill. It's a blast.
Jim, would you recommend electric or glow or what?
It kind of depends. We've had the airplane I'm building with the Eagles. I've got an electric modification for it. The company that I bought it from sells an electric conversion kit. So I think a lot of guys that are comfortable with electric, a lot of these kits come with mods you can make and stick a battery on them and away you go. I've also got a lot of glow engines, and that works great too. So either one works fine. There's a lot of benefits to electric. You get the same engine run every single time, sort of thing. You are fussing with batteries, but
Is my friend Bill Moore still in the hobby? He was big in the electrics. He wrote the original columns on them. He also competed in that. So I'm not sure if he's alive, but
I don't know. The name sounds familiar, but I'll check on it and get back to you.
Bill Moore. His family originally owned Apponaug. His father Apponaug Hobbies in Rhode Island. He was close. He visited us in our shop many times. Brought in some of his works. I mean, he was the first one to really push electric and the U-control. And then later in the competition level, he was flying check planes and all the high-end stuff. But we haven't seen him. He moved down to Florida, and then I heard he came back. But I wrote him, and I didn't hear from him. And I'm hoping he's still around.
Okay, I'll ask around. It's Bill Moore, was it?
Bill Moore, Moore. He was the original electric guy. He wrote the electric column for the control line groups, and he was really the only one that I would see in our shop that would bring in some unique aircraft, beautiful aircraft that he either built or but he had been in it for his whole life.
Yeah,
he's an older man, so I don't know. I'm hoping he's still alive.
Hey guys, I gotta run. 5 a.m. comes early. So thanks for having me.
Where are you working at 5 a.m. tomorrow?
I gotta get up at 5 so I can shower and be out here at 6.
He's going on a power line somewhere.
We're gonna automate all that stuff for you. It's only a short time away. You can stay home and do it all.
I'll show you my new toy one of these days.
All right, what do you got? What did you buy?
It's a census. So check it out with the support trailer. It's amazing. So
there you go.
Hi, John. Have a good night.
All right, so see ya.
Drive safe out there, Johnny.
All righty.
Okay, John, thanks for the input. Good stuff.
All righty.
Jim, I would have a real tough time because I was a goofy hand. I was a goofy hand control line guy. I was pulled down. I was pull up and pull down.
Yeah.
Are there many doing that? Does anybody do that? Or is it all pull up, pull down?
It's mostly, it's combination of wrist and arm, mostly wrist really is.
But the top string is up, right?
That's right, up and down.
See, I always flew like this for some strange reason. I don't know why. I just adapted that way when I first started doing it.
Yeah. Everybody's got their own comfort zone and everything, but anyway, neat.
Do you hand out anti-nausea medication for those of us who get dizzy spinning around in circles? I think I could have handled that when I was a lot younger, but I think
just watch the plane.
I'd fall over if I tried that now.
You got to walk around. You walk around the circle. You don't stand in the center and pivot like a top. You kind of move your body, and you don't look at
you just need a good long line. Then you're okay.
I tried this maybe when I was 9 or 10 years old, and it did not go very well. I had a Cox 049 engine. I couldn't keep it running for the life of me, and I probably stopped.
I too flew it as a kid, and I learned very quickly that the line I had strung was nowhere near long enough. Now, when I found a place that was larger space to fly in, and I extended the line by a good 25, 30 feet, I found it to be far more manageable.
Are you saying that the 15-foot line that I probably had on mine was?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
radius might have been a little too tight for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was not the best experience.
Yeah.
But helicopters were amazing. They didn't make me sick or dizzy. So that was pretty good.
I have the trainer that I have set up. It's an electric, and I use an RC car controller, a transmitter, and I've got a little Spectrum receiver on the airplane just to control the propeller speed from off to full power. And so we'll go out there. I was out, hold the receiver in one hand and hand over hand on the control handle on the other, and follow a guy around. Okay, we take off and around we go. And if a guy says, that's it, I've had it, I just release the power and the airplane lands. And we go as fast or as slow as they want to go. And that's a pretty good way to introduce it. We're not overwhelming somebody. Andy, I'll send you a video of my daughter who flew that same airplane, 1 minute flight. And she went from, gee, I don't know if I can do this, to soloing and doing just having a real good time. But she's 25 and lives in Newport, Rhode Island, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But, we got together the Mass Cup tournament in Rentham last August, and she's out there. So I'll send a copy to you if you want to post that.
Sure.
Guys, a deal for her out there, just flying in circles and having a good time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
I'm glad you joined us tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you joined us.
I knew I'd be able to hook you up somewhere.
Yeah, good, terrific. I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody and coming out and flying with all you guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, tell your president, we're always willing to work with your group. There were some people that had written me early on. I wrote them back, never got back to me. I know there's been a push, not just in one area, but in multiple areas to get involved. But all of us have just got so much going on.
Certainly, yeah.
But I'm glad you came on tonight, because it does reflect that this tool that we got of Zoom has a purpose. It works, and it works well.
It certainly does. And so hats off to you, Andy and Darren. You guys are running a great show here, and I'm really impressed. So same thing to John and to Tim and John Morley as well. I think we're off to a good start. I'm looking forward to flying with everybody.
Yeah. Pass it on, because it helps us. It motivates people to continue to help us as well and keep this going. We can do a lot of preparation, and then we find 5 people coming on, but we haven't had that since we started. So we've always managed to get a decent group, enough for us to say it's worth the effort.
You bet.
It makes us feel good. Really makes us feel good.
Amen. I've got an early get up myself.
Jim, let you guys know.
Yeah.
Let your guys know that this is going to be recorded, and all this stuff is going to be on the D1 Zoom page on the website. It's all archived there. So
I'll pass that along. I'll pass that to Mark
all
White,
here.
our boss, and we'll get that out. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Andy, and everybody that else that's left. Before I was coming to this meeting, I was watching American Pickers, and I don't know if you guys have ever watched that show, but they were picking in Ohio, I think, and they're digging through a barn, and they came across this guy's collection. They were all tethered and free flight airplanes, and he had pulse jets in there. And the guy picks up the pulse jet. He says, "What the heck is this? This thing's got a jet engine on it. It's got a spark plug on the top. My God." He said, "Oh, it was funny." And he had a whole collection. I think he gave him $500 for the whole collection. He had a bunch of them.
That's amazing. I mean, when we had the shop, we get a lot of the dealers in, and they would buy the aircraft from us to put them in bars and restaurants and places like that. So the value was more than the value of the user who would actually use them, but there was as a piece of marketing for a particular type of business, the value went up. We had to end it because the last group of aircraft that I built, I think it was almost 20 or so. I didn't realize it at the time, but they ended up in a place, and it turned out to be a porn distributor. And I said, we never knew. And they went under an aero name I don't know, you had to be from the New England area to recognize it. I don't remember what it was. But we built scale planes, no motors, and they would use it as their theme to drive people in to buy.
Well, that's just,
Yeah.
Andy, that's just the versatility of aeromodeling. That's all that is. So we are still recording, so we want to watch the content.
I stopped. Believe me, I stopped as soon as I realized where my product was going.
Yep. Oh, pretty funny.
Folks,
Yeah, so guys, I thought this has been a good meeting. There was a lot of content always. Made a
Yeah.
bunch of notes to go over from George Mack. Excellent, George. Thanks for joining us. I hope you got something out of it. And the more the merrier in the future, guys. We got, probably more content than we have time, which is a good problem to have. Joel, you had mentioned, jet powered control line, and that's the closest I've ever seen is these pulse jets. Have you ever seen those go?
I've not. I've seen pictures of a pulse jet, but I've never actually seen one.
They
in
are
real-
allowed.
I went to the Nats in 1980 something and picture a cage and a pole hammered into the asphalt with a pivot handle with an arm brace on it and a guy over there starting this pulse jet. And then this guy just going around in circles for about, what is it, Andy? About 30 seconds. And the models, what are they going, 150?
Scary. The noise is scary and the speed is scary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy.
it's insane.
Yeah.
They've got
Yeah.
that, by the way, they have that, there's a guy who flies a pulse jet at the control line field he was out Triple Tree last year and another one. I'll be at Triple Tree this year. Andy, maybe I'll see you there. Hope
Yeah.
to. But he usually brings that thing out and he flew one at night and it was just insane.
Oh, my
watching
gosh. Must
it
have
go
been
ripping. Yeah.
must have been a flame like this coming out of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the noise is insane. So it was fun.
It's the
Okay,
loudest
guys.
dog whistle you'll ever want to hear in your life. It's crazy.
Yeah. Good night.
Yes, thanks, Jim.
You bet. Adios.
Yeah.
Steve, you were going to say something earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of be a fly in the ointment. When we were talking before about advocacy or outreach, I'm all for that, believe me. But these district events are a little bit different breed. And my concern is that if you pile too many things into an event, people who come a long distance are going to say, I'm not going to go to that event if I can only fly for 1 hour a day, And
That's a
Andy
valid
and
point.
we've been to a lot of events and we've seen some of that stuff. And I see that even at Joe now, sometimes people complain that they have a long noontime show and then they have a warbird event after that. And people are saying, I can't fly during those times and I came here to fly, So I just wanted to mention that, something to consider, and when Andy was saying this is an event for flyers, in a way, I think he was really right, but I'm all for outreach. Don't get me wrong, but I have my concern about district event because you're hoping to get people from a good distance. In fact, that's one of the reasons we chose Gardner, because it's a central location, And so anyhow,
Steve, that's exactly why I said it's so important early on here to get really, really clear on what we want the scope of the event to be, so that we're not spending an hour, like we did tonight, kind of talking through, well, I kind of think it's this, and I kind of thought it was that, and all that, right? Like we're getting to a point now, the end of January, where if we do end up wanting to settle on a June date, we're going to have to start getting into the nitty gritty of planning.
Oh,
right. And the last thing we want to do is still be talking about, well, what do we want it to be? Right. Like we got to get that nailed down and kind of, as you said, Andy, get the bullet points of kind of the itinerary of things that the event's going to encapsulate. So then we can get the word out very clearly. This is what this thing is going to be. If this fits in your wheelhouse, come on in. You're welcome to participate. And then we can get down to the nuts and bolts of actually figuring out what do we all got to put together to actually make a 4-day event happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, They haven't responded yet.
Yeah, I know we're still kind of waiting for them
Yeah,
to
I mean,
officially give us the green light, but
And part of the problem lies in anything that's contracted out to construction people can go in any direction. So we're gonna have to wait it out.
Yep.
Do I anticipate that an event, and I've run hundreds of events, over the years, nationally, locally, and so forth, is gonna please everybody? Absolutely not. It never does. We try to please as many as we can. We try to provide enough information so each person knows what we intend to do and what our outcomes may be. Does it fall right into a strict pattern every time? No, we know that, but we're trying to do as best as we can. For the guy that's interested only in jet flying, go to the jet flying meet. You're interested only in IMAC, go to the IMAC meet. You're interested in participating in a festival of aero modeling, come to our meet. You're interested in showing what you can do, come to our meet. You're interested in developing and pushing membership forward, come to our meet.
Yeah.
If you're interested in sitting down and watching disciplines that you maybe haven't seen in a while, and the best of who's available in those disciplines, come to our meet.
and I think there's plenty of pilots that are multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
Who'll say, yeah, I don't need just the jet meet. I'll pack my jet, I'll pack my extra, I'll pack my trainer, I'll pack my warbird, and I'll fly a little bit of everything for a few.
And take your phony, with you too. Take the gamut, do the gamut, do like Darren says they do at Plum Island. And I've seen.
Hey, Steve, your points were very valid, absolutely, and the key lies in Tom's point, and it's advertising it clearly. So
Receive emails over the years when we've run events from people, and I think Joan may have left us, but Joan would write me and say, is there a grass area for flying vintage aircraft, for flying the World War I stuff? And I'd say, well, we do have it, we don't have it, whatever it is. So we would try to let people know as we advertise and market the event. The unfortunate situation here is that we don't have a window. And without a window, I can't begin to really set up a program. I have a feeling that they don't know yet. They're dealing with the contractors, but believe me, as we move forward, we will see what we can do. We'll try to accommodate the largest group of people that we can, and we'll look to that. I mean, Aaron, you looked at that some field times when in 2011 and 10 and 12, where we were running 4 events a year to accommodate everybody. We ran Winterberry for electric, and we brought in the biggest people from Pennsylvania and from the electric events. So I don't mind returning to those days, but we've left them now because of the needs of influencing communities outside of the choir to support us in our initiatives with the government.
Yeah, and part of my point with that is for the exact reason that you mentioned, Andy, that we may not find out till a little later than we would like to, whether or not we got the hard green light or not. We may want to kind of start at least laying down the schematic of what we want this to look like even before then. So if we do get that green light and we need to flip that switch super fast and kind of now accelerate the rest of the planning, at least we got the groundwork laid and we're not scrambling to figure out details, only a few weeks before when the event would be scheduled to happen.
Well,
at that point, you've got all those things figured out, and now you can actually work on the operational side of what it's going to take to execute.
If I don't hear from them soon, then the windows are going to get pushed till after they're done.
Right, exactly. And that's okay. If that's the way it works out, that's for this year, that's the way it'll work out. We do what we can with what they can give us.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work out, we'll go into 2004.
Right.
My point is, we got to begin somewhere. Gardner was the best choice. We can look to other sites. I think Ed has left us from Salem. I've run district events at Fairfield, multi-fields, multi-flight lines. He told us at the last meeting, he's open. He's open. I mean, we could have chosen there first. It's in Connecticut. It's not as central as Gardner. Gardner still poses the best location we've had. I'm not going to lose Gardner, but that doesn't mean we're not going to continue to look for other possibilities, just like you've offered Joe for control line. So there's there's a number of sites that we have throughout New England and a number of people that would be willing to take on different types of events, whatever they may be. And we're going to start doing that. We got away from it. I want to get back to it. I want to enjoy it. I had my most fun at those events. Obviously, I mean, Darren and I and John and a number of us, Andy's been here that flies with us as well. And the outreach team, we've hooked onto these outreach activities at these airports because they really have an impact on non-flying members, on the community. And so we recognize that. The Droning On event that we did in Maine, we got to meet legislators, not legislators, but people working under the integration office right in Washington, D.C., who were there, 10, 15 of them, the key people, the regional people, all important stuff. And although a lot of that didn't involve what we do, we made friends, we networked, so that they said to Darren and I and John, if you guys need us in the future or we're doing it something, we're going to contact you if we don't know how you fit into that. So there's a lot of that still going on and has to go on. You know, I often talk to Tyler, who heads up our government relations, and I tell him, Tyler, you got a job that's not going to end. Unfortunately, regulatory bills have a cycle of 5 years. We're now at the 2018. We're going to be heading into that. There's going to be a lot of pressure on me, the Executive Council, our government body, to come up with the best outcomes. Our wish list is pretty consistent. The people that we have to negotiate with, we're expanding. Manchin, Senator Inhofe, other people will be making trips to Washington. It's just a never-ending area within the hobby. Darren keeps saying to me, Andy, and I agree with you, Darren, we need to do an officer-only event. We need to bring the AVPs and district guys together, including me, and put me back on the sticks. I haven't been on in so long. And let me do even crash a plane, I'll have a smile on my face. But let's try to figure that into this equation as well, because I miss it all. And the years keep flying by, and I get kind of disappointed that the load on me gets awful sometimes with the AMA. I'm sometimes
all the more reason to try to make an event work for 2023.
Yeah.
If anything, just to get you to fly.
Yeah. I mean,
don't put it off. Let's do it now.
Tom, I agree with you. The best opportunity, as we know, is that to have the event before the summer, because you don't know how long the construction is going to last, and to have it in the fall, you might be running into not such good weather,
Sure.
And so, I mean, if we do need to get planning pretty soon. I hope we hear from them, so we have a little bit better idea.
And even if Gardner can't make a commitment when we need him to make a commitment, I think to your point, Andy, there's nothing wrong with revisiting the idea of some of the other sites and see if at least for 1 year we can put something together in another location.
Yeah. Ed is open. There may be other areas with a runway that are suitable as well.
It might be a good idea to talk to Ed about some tentative dates with him, just to have something penciled.
The problem, and Darren is quite aware of it, is that in the space of time that we had from 5 or 7 or 8 or even 10 years ago till now, we changed our operations so dramatically that now we're trying to get back to what I consider the hobby, the fun, the enjoyment of it. And the outreach was secondary to the enjoyment of the hobby. And so it'll be a while, and hopefully I'll still be around while we're doing that. If not, I had a great run here, tremendous run, a lot of fun, lifetime of fun. And I love all of you. I really appreciate all the cooperation, the friendships I've made over the years, not here, but everywhere across the country that the AMA afforded me.
Andy, there's no reason to give yourself an advance eulogy.
Yeah.
You're getting the cart ahead of the horse, my friend.
Yeah,
Exactly.
sometimes.
That's what he does, Tom.
Worry about figuring out what you want to dust off and fly this spring.
That's what he does, Tom. I've never seen a guy run so fast down the street when he's not even moving in my life.
Yeah, tomorrow I won't be here and you'll come and visit my wife.
If you talk to his wife, she would tell you that he's been dying for years, you know?
Yeah, she
Why don't
said,
you just get it over with, you know?
she used to tell everybody, you know, he's been dying since 15.
Eventually-
Hurry up and get it over with.
That's right. She's gonna get tired of listening to you and say, "We just get to it already."
You gotta fly this weekend. I flew a plane last weekend in the 28-degree weather. Had a blast. So
Oh
you gotta
yeah,
get out.
you guys, I posted on the district Facebook page. We had a group of about 5 or 6 guys out this weekend with the skis and the floats on, and
I saw
you
that.
know, we were just making nice, fun tracks in the snow. It was
So highly recommended.
it was a nice weekend for it. It was next to
I get it.
0 wind, which made it even better.
It was
In
great.
my heyday,
So come and join us. Nick.
I had 15 girls working for us in 2 different stores. I would leave the store and my businesses, 2 different businesses in Rhode Island, 1 in Boston. I would leave fairly early and fly every day of the week. Those days are so far in the background, but they were wonderful days. It was, no matter how the weather was, it was in zipping thermal underwear suits. It was out in the snow, it was on the ice, it was everywhere. And they've been gone a long time, but they were great memories and maybe I can repeat them again. So,
Time to make some new ones. Come out this
Yep.
weekend. Let's play.
yeah,
Well,
makes sense.
here's my plug for John Yazamides. He left. I think this is the next event. February
Yeah.
5th is the Frozen Fingers up at Southern New Hampshire Flying Eagles. That's always a fun time. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, there is a new search function for the clubs and I know there's only a few of us here, but just so you know, easiest way I found to find it is not there, but just scroll to the bottom. You got Club Finder, and the new Club Finder has a breakdown search function, which is kind of nice. They've improved it. Andy's been screaming about this for what, 10 years? And it's gotten a little closer. It's not perfect yet, but it's gotten a little closer. So you can play around with that. You can search by district, which is nice. And then also the other one is the event search. And the event finder you can also do by district.
Yeah.
And of course,
They're on our website. They're on our
I
website.
always go right back and plug our own site for our own district right there. Just
I've
click on it.
upgraded both of them. They're both
Yep.
working. In fact, when you select, you can actually
It's
select.
already there and there's the frozen finger. Boom.
Yep. You can filter anything.
Yep.
And I spent
They've
the
improved.
afternoon, I upgraded all of that.
I'm gonna say goodnight. Thank you, Andy and Darren for running this. Appreciate that. So.
All right.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Joel.
We appreciate it. We appreciate
Thanks for
it.
accommodating Jim too. That made it well worth his while to show up.
Wait
That was,
a minute, wait, before you go, Joel, I'm curious, did you get contacted by Bob Kinkle there from JPO to participate on the safety committee?
For the large helicopter?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I didn't know if they did. I had put you in and I wanted to make sure that they didn't exclude you because I wanted our representation from District 1. So good. Just keep